Gunrunner reaching for the wire, collected alongside, and then comes West Coast and War Story, but Gunrunner's on top of the world! He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic!
In 2017, Gunrunner punctuated his Horse of the Year campaign with a dominant victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This year, the World Championships return to the Seaside Oval, and the biggest names in the sport have assembled at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. Who will rise to the occasion and emerge as this year's definitive star? TVG brings you all the action as the competitors and their connections make their final preparations for the biggest weekend of the year. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
This stretch of Southern California has a lot of sleepy beach towns, and emerging from the dark was Gamine earlier this morning at Del Mar. Far and away, the horse to beat in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm Todd Trupp for America's Horse Racing Network, TVG. So under the cover of darkness, many horses coming out. The major workouts are done, but the work continues. Joining me here on our set, just off the Jimmy Durante turf course, Caton Bradar and Simon Bray. So we sit 48 hours from the first day of 2 days of championship racing. How tense is it for the barn back there, or now that they've gotten by those major workouts, is it a relaxed atmosphere?
Well, I'm sure it's far from relaxed. When you have the stakes that we see coming up in just a couple of days, you're going to be on pins and needles waiting for everything to continue to go right. But at the same time, I think you try to keep with your routine, your program, so that the horses don't sense the nerves or anything that might be going on outside of the racetrack.
That's exactly right. Yeah, all the major work is done, the heavy lifting is done. Now you just want race day to get here because, you know, time means things can go wrong, and you don't want anything to go wrong between now and Friday and Saturday. Just trying to limit the risk and hopefully keep everybody in tip-top shape.
Speaking of everybody, we've got a full team bringing you all the latest here with the Breeders' Cup. There will be horses obviously coming out onto the track as well as the turf course throughout the morning. We start with Joaquin Jaime.
Yeah, Todd, just to pick up the conversation where you guys left off, all the major preparations are done, and we showed you guys that with the final workouts for all these Breeders' Cup contenders from last Friday all the way pretty much up until Monday. But there still are a few things that these trainers want to get done just to make sure that their Breeders' Cup horses are fully prepared. We're back here at the starting gate. We are expecting a lot of Breeders' Cup horses to be schooling here at the gate. Actually, right behind me, that is Hidden Connection for trainer Brett Calhoun. She just arrived at the gate right now. She just stepped in, and then she just went ahead and backed out, and that is going to be the extent of her gate schooling session here. She won the Pocahontas in her most recent start for Brett Calhoun, so that is going to be Hidden Connection, who just left the starting gate here, schooling at the gate. And another Breeders' Cup contender, Juju's Map for trainer Brad Cox, is expected to school here at the gate as well. So we're going to be hanging out here behind the starting gate, trying to keep our close eye on all these contenders and show you up close of what they're doing behind the starting gate and show you what exactly goes on during these schooling sessions. Mike Joyce.
Right, and we've got a vantage point from where the gate is down the backstretch here. You can see the surface in front of me, and it's more than just raking some dirt and planting some grass seed to find a surface fit for racing, especially for an event such as the Breeders' Cup World Championships. I'm here at the tractor pad, so I'm going to be talking to the two track superintendents today and tell you exactly what goes in to all this track maintenance. We're going to take a trip on the tractor with Dennis Moore, who's widely considered the best track man in the business, and then Leif Dickinson. He's the man who's in charge of the turf course. We're going to go walk the turf course today and see just how it steps up. Look, we're very blessed here in Southern California to have consistent conditions, and that's why the Breeders' Cup loves coming here, and we have such great support from the international connections and from connections all across the country. But like I said, it's not that easy. A lot goes into it, and we'll see just exactly why. This dirt surface is considered one of the safest in thoroughbred racing. Let's go to Michelle Yu.
Thanks so much, Mike. I am down here in the paddock where we've already had quite a few Breeders' Cup horses coming through and schooling. We saw Gufo to begin with. We just had a nice long session with Mo Forza, and right now we have Vertiginous in here. We actually saw Vertiginous yesterday breaking out of the starting gate when we were standing over there for a while. So you can see going through the schooling motions here, everyone being very thorough with acclimating their horses to all of these new places. You guys know that Del Mar Racing does open up today, and we have not been able to school in the afternoons because there wasn't racing. But starting today, when racing returns, you will be able to school your horses in the afternoon. So expect, if you are watching the races today at Del Mar, to see an absolute bevy of Breeders' Cup horses, because it will be the first time that they will get to do an afternoon schooling with fans in attendance, guys.
Michelle, I'm back here on the backside, and as you know, every horse has a story, and the stories behind all of the runners in the Breeders' Cup are very compelling, including all the folks that have found these horses and have campaigned them and are enjoying sending them to post this weekend. We'll talk to you a little bit more today about Latrusa. We have introduced you to Fausto Gutierrez over the last couple of weeks, and certainly here on the morning show on the last few days. He has said that this is the horse of a lifetime for him. She's had an eventful week, as we have detailed, with both the works, and then just in terms of her training, I've noticed she was ponied one day, she galloped one day. She's been doing something different just about each and every day in order to prepare. We will also tell you the story of Jockey's Warrior, the 3-year-old sprint sensation who will be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Sprint this year, taking on older horses. His owners, Kirk and Judy Robeson, have been married for over 60 years. They are from Texas, restaurateurs. They own quite a few restaurant franchises, including Applebee's, which has been made a little famous on TikTok as of late with Walker Hayes' fancy-like story and video. So we're going to introduce you to some of the folks behind these horses today. And Todd, Caton, and Simon, as I send it back to you, just want to know, it's a little colder this morning, a little more chilly here. We have quite a strong onshore breeze from the ocean. That moisture will settle on the track. You might see it a little tighter today, both for the morning and for afternoon racing.
And Christina brings up an excellent point. It's something we see here during the summers. The track is always different because we're not that far from the ocean. So with the weather changing as quickly as it does, this track can be different in race 1 and then be very different in, say, the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic.
Well, not only that, we're about a 9-iron from the ocean. We're at sea level. I mean, you dig down here about 3 inches and you're going to hit water probably. So, and with the marine layer that's here, it kind of keeps everything sucked in. So in the summer we get the sun that burns it off. It doesn't always happen here in the fall. We get that cloud base over, and it kind of keeps the moisture in the track.
But Caton, with the European horses, these cooler temperatures are great to ship into.
And I think that's been a great equalizing factor for a lot of the horses coming in. Sometimes horses that are used to the cooler climates have an advantage or a disadvantage depending on the temperatures. If it's really hot, it can be a real adjustment, but I don't think that's going to be a factor for anybody here.
Horses like cold weather. It's the problem they have is adjusting to extremely high temperatures. Most of them appreciate cooler weather.
Yesterday we got a chance to see trainer Charlie Appleby and his horses who have come from overseas here for the Breeders' Cup come out to the racetrack. They're out on the track once again this morning and out as a group.
Yeah, this is typical. All come out as one group. Each horse has their own exercise rider, and usually, in times past, they'll take care of the horses as well. But I think he's got a great group this year. Listening to the interview yesterday that Rishi had with him, I mean, I like the fact he seemed pretty high on modern games and Space Blues. And I think he was very forthright in some of his comments about his chances in the Breeders' Cup Turf with Walton Street. He won the Woodbine, the Canadian into the Woodbine, the International up at Woodbine. Pretty much said he's got no chance. I mean, that's a horse that probably is not a Grade 1 horse or close to it in Europe. He came here, he got the job done in Canada, but he's pretty much saying that's a mighty long shot.
Looks like that's Albar leading the troops, and it's interesting that you've got a juvenile turf horse or a 2-year-old leading a group of horses where behind him are some of the more seasoned horses. I think showing a little bit of maturity on the part of some of the 2-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly, and hooked up with the pony. I'm going to mention this earlier in the week. European horses go out in a big string, and big strings mean 30, 40 sometimes horses. And they'll go out in a line like this, but they always put the colts at the front and the fillies at the back. Here in the United States, we just send the horses out as is. But for the majority of the horses in Europe, they'll go with the colts at the head of the string and the fillies in behind.
And with someone who knows what it's like to win some of the biggest races in the world and to ride on Breeders' Cup Day, Aaron Grider, who is with Christina Blacker.
I'm joined by former jockey Aaron Grider, also the VP of Industry Relations for First Racing. But as we all know, when you're a horseman, you can't really stay away from the horses at all. You have been riding the horses for Wesley Ward in the mornings here at Del Mar. How did this come about?
Wesley and I have been friends for a long time. We actually rode together in 1989 in Chicago, and just seems like the last few Breeders' Cups, like when he was at Santa Anita a couple years ago, I got on Kamari, and just I've always enjoyed getting on good horses. So retired or not, you still get the thrill and the desire to go out there and play. So when you can do it on some of the best in the world, I just offered my services, and Wesley said it would work out great. So I'm getting on 3 or 4 a morning for them, and they're fit, so it's pretty easy. I just have to go out there and jog them, but it's fun to take a lap around with good horses.
I saw you out there on Kamara yesterday. How has she changed in the last year to you?
Well, she's definitely grown up. She's a lot bigger and stronger than she was, and she seems like she's full of energy, and I know Wesley's expecting a big race out of her.
And who are you on in this next set that we're going to be able to catch on track?
Next set, I believe I'm on Golden Pal. I'm not sure. I just got off Coffee Maker, and I just get on whatever he says. They're all good ones.
We are looking forward to it. Aaron is also going to be wearing the jockey cam on his helmet today, so an inside look at Wesley Ward's runners with Aaron Ryder.
Aside from having ridden at the Breeders' Cup, he's also the answer to a trivia question. He rode the final winner at the old race course before they moved over to Maidan in the World Cup with Well Armed, who won easily that year. Speaking of Well Armed, we've been talking about trainer Charles Appleby and his horses coming out onto the track. We also have, on the American side of things, Juju's Map preparing for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. Echo Zulu, rate the heavy favorite there, but Juju's Map certainly is one of the horses that can beat her.
She's been catching a lot of attention because of her visual appearance and her workouts. They were completed in Kentucky prior to shipping here, but Simon, she's held good flash. She has a very mature build and appearance, and also way of moving on the racetrack, and I think you saw that in her races too. She switches on very quickly, but she's not out of control in her races. She's able to dole out her speed, and it's been very impressive in her 2 wins.
Yeah, she's going to be going to the starting gate there. I know Joaquin's down at the starting gate. We'll get her to see her gate schooling. Stay with this. This is some good stuff here. So you can see that just these last 48 hours, we touched on it on the top of the show. All the major lifting is done, but now we're just, dotting the I's and crossing the T's here. Go to the starting gate, maybe school in the afternoon in the paddock, and you're going to see her probably just stand here in the starting gate to get used to things and familiarize herself with the surroundings here. Obviously, she's been in the gate before. She's raced 3 times, but you just want to make sure that she's comfortable and a little reminder of what's going on.
Let's go down there now, and standing by with Juju's Maps trainer, Joaquin.
And Brad, your Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies entrant here, your Grade 1 winner in the Alcibiades, Juju's Map, getting a little gate schooling session here. What are you expecting to see today based off her personality and how she normally handles things?
She's obviously still a young horse, but she I expect her to handle it well. She's takes everything in. She has a lot of class. She's got some energy, and she's forward enough training, but does it all well in hand, and she's a classy filly to be around.
Is this gate schooling session more for her and your horse, or is this more for you and your comfort zone to know you've sort of covered all your bases?
I'd say both. It's probably more for the horse, but it just kind of gives us from a trainer a peace of mind that they walked in, stood well, and all that. So I'm going to pull the blinkers real quick.
Okay, he said he's just going to go over here and take the blinkers off for her. So Juju's Map just slid into the gate, stood there just about maybe 15 or 20 seconds, and then went ahead and backed her out. And he's taking the blinkers off right now. Why are you going to take the blinkers off before she walks back to the barn?
She doesn't really. She'll actually gallop now. She's got to gallop. She just backed up. We'll stand before we train. Now she's going to jog off to the wire, straight off. So she'll have a quarter-mile jog. She'll pick up her gallop at the wire. Gallop once around back to the 5/8 post. She'll gallop about 1 mile 3/8 this morning. And my thought on it is just I want her to come over to relax. I don't want to get her steamed up or too worked up before she stands. It's an educational. This is done. In my eyes, is a reason to get her to relax. Come over here and know that no pressure. Just go in, relax, take a deep breath, back out, and she handled it extremely well. I'm very happy with what we just saw, and now she'll gallop, and then after that, back home, pull out. And that's our training session for the day. Actually, she'll school later, so she has a little bit more. She has a little bit more work later in the day.
All right, thanks, Brad. We'll go ahead and let you go ahead and see your gallop here.
Thanks, Joaquin. Appreciate it.
All right, Michelle, we'll send it to you.
Guys, we're over here in the paddock right now. I talked to you about the schoolers that we already got to see. And here we have the contingent from Charlie Appleby, with Charlie alongside, not only looking at all of his horses, but individually walking by and talking to his riders. I unfortunately cannot get close enough to hear what he's saying, but he's definitely getting some input from him. Notice Walton Street in the back yesterday when he came out, he was completely lathered in sweat. I mean, literally dripping. Today, much better. We see a little bit of foam between his back legs, but nothing like we saw yesterday. I'll see if I can't get the camera to shoot him. He's the last one in line, 320 right there, Walton Street, who just won the Canadian National last time out and will go postward in the turf. So a much better appearance today, much calmer than we saw yesterday. And then, of course, Space Blues, the third one in front right there, Jared, looking fantastic walking around here. Yesterday, today, he has been perfect and poised. He's a globetrotter. He's a professional. He knows his job. I mean, he's giving you every indication that he is mentally focused for the task that's about to come ahead. They've already taken about 4 or 5 turns in here, so we'll wait and see what else they do, but happy to get to see this good-looking group schooling.
Simon, you know this paddock well. Does it present any unique challenges to the foreign-based horses?
I don't think so. It's very small. It can be a little claustrophobic sometimes. Obviously, this is not quite simulating race day conditions. We'll get that this afternoon during our racing coverage. We'll see some horses schooling, but this is the next best thing. I trained out for a long time, 7 or 8 years. Every morning, I would walk the horses through this paddock to and from the track just to get familiar with it. But they look, these are seasoned professionals that's traveled halfway around the world. They look tremendous here in the paddock. And real quick, I just want to back up for Juju's map. The blinkers coming off there, I thought that was interesting. And for most people, they're like, well, Juju's map, she wears blinkers in the races. But yeah, fillies like that, they probably only wear them 1 in the races and 2 when they work. She didn't need them to gallop. The reason he put them on her in the gate was to replicate race day situations. So I think she looked great schooling in the gate. And to Joaquin's point, I think a lot of it is for the trainer. Yeah, it makes the trainer feel good. What if something happened in the gate and you didn't school her? You question yourself. If you didn't school her in the paddock, you question yourself if something went wrong. Makes the trainer feel more comfortable.
It's kind of a matter, though, of a give and take, and with the energy levels, too. As far as the exercise and stop, go, stop, go, stop, go, so that they get the opportunity to kind of use a little bit of energy, but then dial it back.
Right.
And then use the energy and dial it back as far as their workouts and also the time in the gate to try to get it measured up to race time.
We were speaking with Aaron Grider earlier. He's kind enough aboard some Wesley Ward horses this morning to wear our jockey camera. And that is a look at Golden Pal and Aaron Grider out on the track right now. Golden Pal, one of your favorites for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint, which will be early on Saturday as one of the 9 championship races. So we saw from the side there what it looks like, Aaron Grider and Golden Pal coming on the racetrack. Now we are aboard Golden Pal with Aaron Grider, headed up the track. And Simon, something we talked about earlier in the week, the 2 directions, the 2 different flows of horses in the morning out on the track.
Yeah, the way the traffic flow is directed in the morning. If you're jogging, you're right here where Aaron Grider is on the outside fence. You can see that's the backside trainer stand, all the barn area to his left, the grandstand to his right. So you can see the horses coming towards him. And as a general rule of thumb, if the faster horses work on the rail, and as you come out towards the middle of the track, kind of the lanes you're meant to kind of keep a slower, faster from the inside to the out. So the slowest gallopers try and keep in the middle of the track. That way you're out of the way of the horse is working. All the joggers stay on the outside fence going the wrong way.
Golden Pal is a horse who possesses a lot of raw, natural early speed, and it's a very interesting contrast in terms of training styles that you see. Wesley's opting to take a horse who has all that energy and who has all that speed and is just trying to harness it and keep it under control, just dogging now in these early stages to keep him controlled and on the outside, away from the other horses. Yep. It's almost like caging it all up to save it for race time.
Exactly. I mean, these are animals that they've got to be absolutely in tip-top shape when the gates come open. 5 furlongs, there's no chance for an excuse or a misstep. So, it's harnessing that speed without having them too fresh to where something can happen and they boil over.
And Golden Pal drawing post position number 3 for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We'll return to the main track, but we're very pleased to have on loan from the British Broadcasting Corporation, Rishi Prasad, and on loan from the Keeneland Racing Association, the ambassador, Scott Hazelton.
You missed one in his resume, by the way. Rishi Prasad's actually worked 5 Olympic Games, most recently his 5th in Japan, or Tokyo, I should say, this past summer, just to flatter you a bit more.
Yeah, no, thank you. This is great for my ego each day,
It
so
is.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, and it'll look good on your resume tape as well. As well as we've got the Godolphin contingent out here. They're in the paddock right now. The word is, according to the documentation that we have, that they're going to head over to the turf course. One horse that we know that is on his way there right now is Twilight Jet for Michael O'Callaghan, a colt that's had a pretty rigorous campaign for a 2-year-old. 10 starts so far.
It's very unusual for a horse of his ability to have that many starts in the season at his age, at the age of 2. But he's responding well to it, and now arguably he put up his career best performance last time at Newmarket when he won the Cornwallis Stakes in really impressive fashion. And they've taken every step possible to get this horse ready for the challenge of being drawn in stall 1 over this sharp track, because clearly, as you know, Scott, it's important to get away. If you miss the kick from stall 1, the game's over.
Yeah.
And they're doing some important things with they got a fire bell and installed it at a track in Ireland and prepared the horse by starting in from the gates with the use of that fire bell. So hopefully it'll all pay off for Twilight Jet and the O'Callaghan team.
Yeah, we've got the video. We're going to show it to you, I believe, tomorrow once we have it organized. So make sure you join us tomorrow for the final breakfast show. But this device, he bought the fire bell and he attached it looks like a car battery on a panel. So it's very creative. It's some good engineering by the O'Callaghan team. So we'll get a chance to see that tomorrow. We'll get a chance to see this colt out on the track in just a bit. But we're showing you Ayudara right now.
Yeah, she's obviously going to be back to defend her title in the filly and mare turf. Odaria for James Fanshawe. She's a filly who perhaps this season hasn't quite delivered on the promise and the improvement that she showed last season. She obviously has run some really good races. She put it up to love in the Prince of Wales Stakes at Royal Ascot. That was a really good performance. And it looked as if it was setting her up for a very good season, but a couple of defeats since, and she was behind Rougier in France on Arc Weekend. It was a little bit disappointing. However, we do know that she enjoys the fast surface, which she'll get here at Del Mar. Her trainer, James Fanshawe, is so adept at targeting big races, and of course this has been the target since she won in Keeneland last year, to come back and try and defend her crown. So I expect her to be at her absolute best for this race, but the evidence of what we've seen so far suggests that she hasn't quite been there so far this season.
It is a different distance than what she ran last year.
Indeed.
It was a mile and 3/16. She gets some more ground to work with here, a mile and 3/8. Is that a good thing for this mare?
I think it's a good thing. If you remember the race last year, she was only on top of them right at the end of the race. She got there in Keeneland, so that little bit of distance might just help her.
And she's the daughter of Wooten Bassett. We discussed Wooten Bassett yesterday, part of the Coolmore team, and a very highly sought-after stallion right now in the UK.
Yeah, Wooten Bassett.
Ireland.
When he first started, he wasn't the most fashionable of sires, but he immediately started doing very well. And Almanzor, of course, one of the best horses that he's produced, won the Irish Champion and the English Champion Stakes. And he became very fashionable very quickly, and Coolmore stepped in to acquire him.
I believe we're seeing some of the blue jackets on the backstretch, the Charlie Appleby runners, but we also have Twilight Jet. We've got him in vision right now, Twilight Jet down on the inside. As you mentioned, it is so difficult to win from post one. I think it's we talk about this, or I think the Europeans don't quite understand why we don't want to be in post one because of the way that these races are run. Everybody wants to be on the rail in Europe because the races are not as quickly run, and so you don't have to worry about getting shuffled back. But in American racing, if you want to win from the rail, you have to be a rocket ship away from there.
And you also have to be with a rider who knows about getting you away quickly and also know the track, Scott. And Lee Roach, obviously no experience of Del Mar and this tight circuit, but connections of Twilight Jet have accepted an offer from an owner, and that owner has made a couple of purchases. In the days leading up to the race, those purchases are going to run, and Lee Roach is going to have some experience of the track as well, which is incredibly vital to help Twilight Jet's chance.
Todd, Simon, Caton, Michael O'Callaghan. I wonder if he's met Michael Ivorone and Jules Ivorone yet, because that's who's bought into this colt. So maybe we'll give him a primer, as they like to say, or a primer, as we like to say in the United States. Hopefully Michael O'Callaghan's got an Instagram account, and we can just point him in the direction of the Ivorone Instagram account, just to give him an idea of what could happen if they win this race or run well.
You can prepare all you want,
yeah.
but the reality exceeds
Exactly.
anything you've prepared for.
Oh, I mean, that would be that's worth the price of admission to see that, especially if they win the race. Mike O'Callaghan will have no idea what happens in the celebrations if he hangs out with Mike Ivorone.
And regarding the betting markets, obviously we have the pari-mutuel here on those 2 Breeders' Cup days, but there's wagering taking place in foreign-based markets right now, and Twilight Jet is taking money. So that's something to think about in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Here's something else you need to take advantage of. It is fee-free deposits during Breeders' Cup week through TVG. We are the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup. Deposit without fees Monday through Thursday. Remember, the 2 championship days of racing are Friday and Saturday here at Del Mar, so you can make your deposits without fees Monday through Thursday. And as a TVG account holder, you can take advantage of one of our most popular promotions. It's the Money Back Special. We'll be offering the Money Back Special on all the races at Del Mar on Championship Friday and Championship Saturday. We'll be back with more on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
Upgrade your betting experience. The TVG app now includes more features. Track bets with live updates and view potential winnings. Got knocked out of your multi-race wager? Choose Create Bet to play the remaining selections. Alive in the last leg? View personalized wheel pace and see approximate payouts before results are posted. Plus, easily access TVG's improved handicapping tools, including TVG Insights, number fire picks, and odds strength. Bet with the latest features now.
Something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day, and the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
Breeders' Cup apparel and products represent everything the Breeders' Cup stands for. Handcrafted, expertly designed. Own a piece of the events that defines an industry. Available at breederscupshop.com.
Welcome back, Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I have found myself in a tractor. This is Trackman Dennis Moore, who's joining me. Actually, I'm joining him. I'm in his ride here. We're about to do the renovation. What do we do here? Just a quick overview for the people at home before we get out on the track.
Well, what we're going to do now is renovate the track for the rest of the day. So we knock out the tracks and smooth it out. That kind of makes it simpler for the folks. But we check our moisture, make sure we have the right amount of moisture in the track, and we also check our cushion depths.
Okay, we're going to do all of that in a moment here. We're just waiting for the gate to open. We're going to come out on the track, Todd. So I'm going to send it back to you. When we're driving these patterns, we're going to get more insight into just everything it takes to make a world-class racetrack ready for a world-class event.
And track maintenance is 24 hours. It's around the clock.
Oh, yeah, and you've got to be a weatherman, and you've got to know all about moisture. It's become so scientific now. Years ago, used to be put the tractor out there, drag it, make it look nice. But Dennis Moore, one of the best in the business, been around here for a long time, very respected here in Southern California. He's maintained tracks all over the world. But, yeah, I mean, they got machines, gradient, laser lines, all kinds of stuff, moisture content. I mean, it's a very, very scientific process, and it aids in the safety of our sport. You know, if you don't have a good track, it can be a real problem, and he's maintained a very good, safe racing surface here.
Kate and I thought we were going to have a quiet, easy morning. I'm hearing all this activity behind me and hearing these horses go across.
It was interesting because you can tell a lot about a turf course by what you can hear. And typically the turf course is quieter than the dirt course.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say that's the case right here. Of course, we are sitting a lot closer to the turf course, in all fairness, than we are to the main track. But it could have been the number of horses that were going by on the turf, too, in one time, because I think Aiden's Army was out there. But they were galloping along at a pretty good clip. But you can, it's not a overly firm turf course, but you could hear their hooves. So that tells me that this course is firm.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they're not digging up the turf course, that's for sure. They're bouncing right along. That's Twilight Jet, who we were talking about, the 2-year-old. Look at this. That's run 10 times. I mean, looking at this horse physically, number one, doesn't look like a 2-year-old. Number two, for a horse that's run 10 times, shipped halfway around the world, holds his weight good. He looks super well here for a horse that's gone through a busy campaign and traveled, and makes a nice appearance here on the track. And I think he's pretty quick. I mean, he's going to have to break out of there and come running, but you know, he's a sprint specialist, and he's in the right spot here, and he's got a big chance, I think.
He's started 10 times and had 2 wins and 3/3, coming off of really arguably his best effort yet. But I'm wondering if he, when we talk about the ground, is one that would benefit from a little bit more given the ground, because that win did come on a little bit softer in Group 2 competition. But he was only beaten a half a length by Armour, who comes back in this race, and the one race where he was well beaten by Go Bears Go, he did not get out of the gate very well. So definitely compromised in that particular instance, because he does appear to be a pretty handy horse out of the gate.
Very pretty horse. Looks very sound, jogging there, and high energy.
Twilight Jet preparing for Future Stars Friday, draws the rail in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, 15-1 in the morning line. In some foreign markets, he's already been bet down to 7-1. We'll be back right after this.
When a new wave calls, you answer. When adventure calls, you answer. When the surf calls, you paddle out. When sunsets call, you find the best view. When the sand in your toes calls, you put more sand between them. When the ocean calls, you wave hello. Because when happiness calls, you answer. San Diego Happiness is calling you back.
Upgrade your betting experience. The TVG app now includes more features. Track bets with live updates and view potential winnings. Got knocked out of your multi-race wager? Choose Create Bet to play the remaining selections. Alive in the last leg? View personalized wheel pace and see approximate payouts before results are posted. Plus, easily access TVG's improved handicapping tools, including TVG Insights, number fire picks, and odds trend. Bet with the latest features now.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Get cash back for finishing second or third on all Breeders' Cup races. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
Welcome back, everybody. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues here on TVG, and we are at the starting gate in the 1.25 mile chute. This is right where the $6 million Breeders' Cup Classic is going to begin, and I'm joined by Gilbert, who's on the gate crew here with head starter Jay Slender. Gilbert has been an assistant starter for over 30 years, 32 years to be exact, and Gilbert's going to be nice enough to give us a little how to be an assistant starter 101. So, Gilbert, where's your starting point here? So, oh, actually, let me jump down here for you. Hold on.
By grabbing the horse, putting a lead on him or a shank to make sure we got a longer arm in case he sucks back or does something silly. So we start by loading the horse here straight, keep him straight, and you got to be relaxed as well. You know, you got to know how to be around horses and know your way around. But yeah, we go ahead and load him up. We put our arm here and raise ourselves up. Well, I have the horse with no pressure on the horse's bit. We turn around on the small ledge, and we make sure the horse is flush from his front feet and his back feet, and make sure the jock feels right with the horse. And we just keep them calm till all the horses keep loading, and then when the last guy comes in, they go ahead and let the boss know when the guy's going to pop up. We know to be ready with these horses and have them pointed straight, so we get a clean break.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to jump up and join you. Can you hold my microphone real fast?
No problem.
Hold on.
All right. It's a little tough if you're not used to it, yeah.
All right, so you're making sure they're standing flush, they're standing even here. How do you position your feet, and what's your sort of ready position?
My feet are side because the ledge is so small, so we got to be parallel and keep your feet side here to this, pointed forward. And if a horse acts up, this bar here is your lifeline. You grab hold of this bar to try to bring this horse back if he acts up or does something bad, So pretty much we just try to keep the horse calm, and that's why we have schooling in the mornings. That's why these horses act right and don't do nothing bad where they can, put the jockey's life in jeopardy. So they bring them up in the mornings to make sure the practice does right. It's a little bit of the trainer's part. They bring them up, and our part in putting in the work, and we have a safe crew, safe horses, and everyone's good.
So take me to a race like the Breeders' Cup Classic, $6 million on the line, one of the biggest races in the world. Right. What is that intensity like? You see all these horses start loading. Right. You hear the call from one out over there. What's that moment like?
Oh, it's a great feeling. You can hear the crowd roaring, and you want to be as calm as possible. When you've done it so long, it's another race to us. But yeah, it's a little more exciting. You're in here with $1 million horses that have outperformed every other horse. So yeah, it is a great feeling.
And when they eventually spring the latches here, Jay hits the button. Right. What's your stance? Does that change at all once you let go of the reins?
Well, we make sure we take that strap off, our lead, and just keep the horse calm and have him pointed straight. Make sure his feet are flush, and that's what we rate the horse on, and that's what we try to get accomplished, to get a clean break.
Well, Gilbert, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much for giving us some insight how to be an assistant starter here.
Thank you so much, and I want to say hello to everybody, the racing world. Thank you for being right with us, and I think we're going to have a great Breeders' Cup.
All right, that is Gilbert. He's been an assistant starter for over 30 years. He is on the gate crew here in Southern California under head starter Jay Slender. Todd, it is absolutely one of the jobs that I would never, ever want to do here at the racetrack. And I don't think people really have an idea until you stand up on one of these ledges, Todd, of just how narrow this ledge is and how tight these spaces are here in the starting gate.
And unfortunately for the assistant starters, it's not a job people notice until something goes wrong.
Right. You don't get any praise, until something goes wrong. And, yeah, it's very tight quarters, but it has to be. Because if you had a lot of space in there, more space means more movement, the ability to move, right? You got to kind of keep everybody tight in there. And that ledge can be sometimes a problem. Often we see it used to be called the Monty Roberts rug, the rug that goes over the back of horses when they go in the gate, hangs down either side of their hind legs. And the reason for that rug is to stop the horses stifles the area right at the top of the hind leg, rubbing on that ledge. That's a predator point. If the horses are out in the wild, if a predator was to come after them, that's the point they would attack them. That's why they feel sensitive right there, and they put that rug over there to prevent that ledge just tickling them a little bit.
Kind of a fine line, too, between a strong, firm hand and that gentle touch. Some horses prefer one way, some horses do better with another.
Dubawi Legend has a strong chance in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, part of Future Stars Friday. Dubawi Legend did not get a good post draw, though. Got post position 14. We're watching Dubawi Legend as now the marine layer has come in and almost fogged things in. Much more visibility, more dicey right now than maybe it was before the sun came up.
No question about that. Temperatures dropped a few degrees as well. Got the wrong jacket on this morning, but Dubawi Legend, yeah, post 14, that's going to be a bit of an issue. I mean, look, on form, he is the best horse in there. He ran behind Native Trail in the Dewhurst Stakes. Native Trail is probably one of the best 2-year-olds in Europe, undefeated, and he ran that horse to 2 lengths in the Dewhurst Stakes, which has provided winners of this race. It's been a stepping stone from Newmarket to come here, but, I mean, the issue is the post. They've got to navigate from post 14.
He is a horse that will be stretching out to the mile distance first time, and you've got to believe with his pedigree that that's going to be a positive for him. Farthest he's raced to date, all 3 of his starts, in fact, have been 7 furlongs. Of course, in Europe, those 7 furlongs play a bit farther than, say, if you were here in the United States.
Right, much more testing. 7 furlongs, it can be uphill. In Newmarket, it's a very stiff 7 furlongs straight away. They go down in a dip, they go up in a hill. You get 7 in Europe, you're going to get a mile here. Out of a mare by Ravens Pass, who won the Breeders' Cup Classic, of course, at Santa Anita when it was run on synthetic surface. So lots of stamina pedigree there. This horse just floats over the ground.
He has a little tactical speed, too.
Yes.
He's the type of horse who lays in that first flight of horses naturally, and he does have a beautiful way of going.
Dubawi Legend preparing for Future Stars Friday in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Let's turn our attention to a horse who will be on Saturday, the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile, presented by the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. If you just look at the last 10 years in this race, the average win payoff is $42. Now, it helps when you have a $178 winner last year in Order of Australia. But you look at Caraconti, and kind of following in that footsteps is the Japanese-based horse Vindigard.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's getting, this is the first time we've seen him this week, aggressive. I mean, he's obviously loving the turf course here, and he looks well, but just on form, strictly on form, if I'm going away from what I'm seeing here and looking at the form, it's a tough call for me for him to be a factor in there.
He's a 5-year-old, and he was very good in 2019. He was a Group 2 winner in 2020.
Yep.
And has had only 3 starts this year. His best finish was second in the Grade 1 or Group 1 Dubai Turf at Meydan, finished well beaten second to Lord North, going a mile and an eighth. His mile earlier was his best distance, but it does look like he's maybe lost a step from his best form earlier.
Ohio gozaimasu. You are watching Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on TVG.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Download today and get a $300 risk-free bet on the Breeders' Cup. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
Upgrade your betting experience. The TVG app now includes more features. Track bets with live updates and view potential winnings. Got knocked out of your multi-race wager? Choose Create Bet to play the remaining selections. Alive in the last leg? View personalized wheel pace and see approximate payouts before results are posted. Plus, easily access TVG's improved handicapping tools, including TVG Insights, number fire picks, and odds trend. Bet with the latest features now.
What constitutes a great sire? Results.
It's Promise Keeper on the inside, and Promise Keeper has won the Peter Pan.
Versatility.
'Tis the law. He's left the others behind. 'Tis the law.
A foundation for the future.
Major General digs down deep. Here's the wire. It's going to be close. Major General got it.
Constitution has it all.
Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. It is the renovation break, and this is the renovation, and you can't really get a better view than this as you're taking a look. Harrows are out on the racetrack resurfacing after the first half of the day, and we still have training hours to come. And I'm going to flip the camera around right here. I'm right here in the driver's seat, basically, with Dennis Moore. Hi there. Trackman, one of the best trackmen in the world, a reputation that is impeccable, and anybody in California, really across the country, knows just how important he is to this operation. First of all, Dennis, I just want to get an idea of what we're doing. Very basic maintenance here, going about 2 miles an hour. What's the process?
Yeah, what we're doing right now, Mike, we're just renovating the track and bringing the cushion depth back after it's been chewed up all morning and getting the track smooth and leveled out for the rest of the morning.
So I want to ask you some questions about this surface. It's one of the safest in all of racing. You guys have done a fantastic job. What is the composition of this surface, and what does it take to maintain, more so than just in between races and in between works, but throughout the afternoons and in the evenings too?
Well, our work on the track really doesn't start till after training, and at that point, that's where we start applying the water, harrowing the track out, grading the track, and cutting the track with a cutting harrow, and then laying it all down and getting the right compaction, the right uniform, consistent cushion depth. The makeup of the material, we're about 86% sand and 14% silt and clay, about 14.5% silt and clay. So we try to keep that uniform throughout the meet. I think the safety is keeping the track consistent, but also I think with all the protocols that we put in place in California and everybody working together, horsemen, everybody being more aware of safety and paying more attention to it has helped as much as anything.
So we're going to take another look at the sorry about that, at the tractors in front of us. So you can kind of see we've got the chewed up track here on the left, and then after the harrows go, it makes a much different appearance. And you stagger the harrows, right? You're not. It's basically 2 rakes for each one.
Yeah, what we do is the harrows we overlap about a foot on each harrow because the end of the harrow doesn't have teeth in them. So by overlapping a foot, you catch the entire area. So the way the teeth are staggered within the harrow, when it's in the ground, it's actually harrowing everything that it's touching. If that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense to me. Let's talk about how even and fair you can make the racetrack with this process, because I know a lot of people want to say bias or one part of the track is better than the other, and I know those words are not ones that fall on your ears well.
Well, you know, my number one concern is safety. Riders getting back and safe, and horses getting back safe. The other stuff, the bias and not enough water, too much this, not enough that comes with the game. You know, I mean, we set our harrows every day. We set them to the same depth every day. As you can tell, racing's only going to be about on 1.5 harrow widths, and those harrows are set every day on a pad. So it's kind of hard to imagine. I know gamblers and trainers and everybody else want to talk about biases, and I think we see bias maybe on off-weather tracks more than anything else.
Well, thank you for letting us in here. And Todd, I'm just letting you know, we're going at about 2 miles an hour here, and you can really literally feel, it's such an even surface when they're done. You can feel all the hoof prints, just how chewed up it gets just in a couple of hours of training here in the morning.
Racing. I've never seen that covered from the camera. That was fantastic insight and so important, obviously, each and every day. And I also like how he pointed out with their schedule, while this is a big part of it, getting this track ready for more horses to come out after the break, their real work begins after the races, after the training hours.
Yeah, that's why training takes place early in the morning to prepare the track for racing in the afternoon. And look, I've known Dennis a long time, back to my Hollywood Park days, great track superintendent. And I honestly think sometimes they get a bad rap. I think more often than not, the track is an excuse sometimes for trainers for poor performance. The first thing that comes out of that man, you could hear it in his in his interview there that, you know, they take a lot of heat, and I think it's unnecessary heat. I think sometimes they are blamed, and not necessarily it's their fault at all. So doing a great job there. Yeah, that was a great piece. I love it.
Anyone who's ever been out on a farm, they know a tractor has a buddy seat. Mike Joyce joining us in the buddy seat with track superintendent Dennis Moore. When we come back, Jackie's Warrior, the reputation as one of the fastest horses in the world, but there's more to his story, and we'll introduce you to his owners when we return on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
At PNC Bank, we believe in the power of taking steps forward, moving ahead, whatever the pace and whatever the size. That's why we set out to help make it easier for everyone to move forward financially. With small business, personal banking, wealth, and corporate solutions that help you reach your goals and plan for the future.
It's a girl.
We're doing everything we can to help you get where you want to be, because sometimes a little help is all you need. See how we can make a difference for you at PNC Bank.
DeMarchelier offers breeders a rare opportunity as the only son of emerging Sire of Sires, Dubois, standing in Kentucky. His picture-perfect pedigree includes 9 Grade 1 winners under the first 3 dams. Dubois and his sons and grandsons at stud have established stars on both turf and dirt. Now his first foals have arrived. DeMarchelier, standing at Claiborne Farm.
The return of Sunday Silence.
Sunday Silence surges to the front. It's Yoshida in front. Yoshida takes charge at the top of the stretch, and Yoshida wins the Turf Classic. Here comes Yoshida, storming home in the center with Gunnevera. Yoshida! Yoshida has won the one word.
The perfect balance. Yoshida.
They're into the stretch. Serengeti Empress and Gamine head and head, nose and nose, coming to the final furlong. Sconson is trying to make progress up the rail, but Gamine has taken the lead. She has put away Serengeti Empress, and she's pulling away. Oh, what a super filly! Gamine and John Velasquez, they won it by 6 lengths on the wire, and they broke the track record.
Yeah, it was a thoroughly dominant performance in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint last year by Gamine. Also very accurate by Larry Colmus. He said 6 lengths in the call, ended up being 6 1/4.
Nailed it.
Yeah, Gamine is the heavy favorite coming in once again this year. She's the 3 to 5 morning line favorite. But Simon, with what you see in the mornings, is she coming in the same way this year?
Yeah, I think so. Look, we've talked about on this show time and time again. We're just showing you a snapshot of the works. I think a baseline is important. You heard about with the veterinarians checking the horses, they like that baseline. Well, we've got a baseline because we've got her work from last year, almost a year ago, heading into the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint, and we're going to compare it to her work this year. Do we see any difference? Is there a cause for concern this year? Well, when I put the two side by side, I don't see any difference. In fact, I see a horse that's exactly the same. Top of the screen is from November 1st last year. Bottom of the screen, 30th of October this year, and almost an identical work through the lane. Just take a look as they come down the lane. Gamine's going to be on the outside on both these workouts here. You can see she's got that little head twist. Her head's cocked just a little bit. It was a year ago. It is this year. That's just her. But when you're looking at both works and compare them, Caden, I think you can see a filly that's coming into this race exactly the same order of last year, or maybe even a tweak better. Look at it. She just pulls away on the bottom here very, very easily.
Exactly. And, you know, I also like the fact that going into the work, she sat back off the workmate even more than she did a year ago.
Yes.
To me, that's a sign of her poise and the fact that she maybe isn't as geared up in the early stages. She doesn't need to be right on top of the workmate to be able to come up with that move through the lane that has served her so well in the past. And that's a strength as well. I would agree with you that, to me, it might be even a tad better work right now than it was a year ago.
Yeah, I know she was a little aggressive early in her career. She's relaxed, she's ready, she's mature. Love the mirror image of works there, the comparison. I think she's coming into this race big time on go.
And she's literally scared most of the competition away. Only 5 other fillies and mares will line up against Gamine in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. She is one of the heaviest favorites over the 2 championship days of racing here at Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. We have this renovation break going on right now. The tractors just went by us. Horses will be coming back out onto the turf. Simon, the composition of this turf course, as far as the grasses that they use in it, it's something that's kind of evolved during the summer meet here as well. It's changed year to year.
Yeah, it's changed. When I came to Del Mar back, all the way back in 1997, the grass, I'm not joking, was this long. It literally was that long, and you couldn't see the horses' pastons, their hoofs, and they would just, it was very tough turf course to get through. But now it's changed. I think this it's like a Greg Norman Bermuda hybrid grass. It's something that's grown in a lab. It's specifically designed for the weather conditions here. It holds up well under a lot of duress. They run a lot of turf races here during the summer.
One of the greatest jockeys that we've ever seen in horse racing, still riding at a high level, is with Michelle Yu.
Wait, Frankie, we're going to come to us.
Oh, go on.
I'm right now with Frankie Dettori. We're live. Telling a lot of stories. So watch the mouse right now.
I didn't say anything. I'm very clean. It's only 7 o'clock in the morning.
When did you get into town?
I stopped in LA for a couple of days to see my nephews. And here I am. I arrived yesterday.
Who are you waiting for to get on right now?
Well, I'm riding one of Paddy's on Friday, one of the undercards. So I haven't been here for 5 years. So I thought I'd just get a acquaintance of the track again. So it's nice to be out, and the jet lag still quite bad. So I was up at 3, and I thought I better do something and come to the track.
That's normal horse racing time, though, Frankie. Come on. Let's talk a little bit about some of the horses that you're going to ride on this big weekend. Broome, notably, maybe didn't handle the going last time.
Maybe, yes. He's a Group 1 winner. He's not very fast away, so if I can get him out and get in a good spot, he could run good.
And I want to talk about Blue Stripe, because you're on her for the Distaff. We've been calling her the mystery horse around here. Do you know more about her than we do?
Well, they booked me 2 months ago. I mean, they were very keen to run here. She won a race in Argentina. And, I know the owner. We used to have also with John. And, he's very keen. They were very excited. She's won 3 in a row. Look, the Distaff is always a very tough race. But, like you said, it'd be very interesting.
What do you think about being back at Breeders' Cup out here in Del Mar?
Well, I love it. Listen, 20-odd Breeders' Cups that I've done. My first one in 1990 when I was a young kid. And, I don't think I've missed many, but I love it. I love the atmosphere. It's got that Ryder Cup feel, like Europe versus America. And, we want to do well, and you guys want to do well. So it's lots of rivalry there.
Do you have a favorite Breeders' Cup that you've won?
Well, obviously, Ravens Pass in the Classic was a special day. But listen, every Breeders' Cup wins that I've had has been special.
Flying dismounts might be coming your way, guys. I'll let you go talk to Marcus now. I know you want to talk to him.
About a month and a half after this staging of the Breeders' Cup, Frankie Dettori will turn 51, but he's still always that 21-year-old we remember from 30 years ago.
Yeah, he's been a lot. I mean, his first Breeders' Cup victory, Barathea, he was an apprentice for Luca Comani back when I was working in Newmarket. I remember the days when he was 16 years old, going to the yard on a bicycle, on a push bike. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the best jockeys in the world. Just released an autobiography, I think.
And I believe has a movie coming out
as
well.
Exactly.
Which I think will be fascinating, because I can't think of anyone who has a more made-for-Hollywood type of career and life.
And on a serious
Frankie.
note, survived a plane crash.
Yeah.
With his agent, Ray Cochran, at Newmarket several years ago.
Yeah, one of the most engaging personalities on the global stage. Speaking of personalities, once again, we join Rishi Prasad.
Thank you very much. Yes, Frankie Dettori talking about his first Breeders' Cup experience in 1990. Well, Roger Varian, a little bit more youthful, the trainer standing alongside me. His first Breeders' Cup runner back in 2011. Painful memories, though, Roger, if you don't mind me mentioning Narain's narrow defeat.
Yeah, good, but I guess painful always when you're beating a short distance in big races. You can look at it 2 ways, but great first experience. That was at Churchill, I think, and yeah, good to be back here.
Yeah, on a personal level, I guess it is good to be back here because of your own experience of being part of the scene in LA and California.
Yeah, we always enjoy coming back to California. I finished high school out here as a teenager, and it's always good to be back. Del Mar's a fun place to be, you know, as is Santa Anita when we're, you know, a little bit further up north. But no, it's good to be here. Nice to be here with a strong candidate, and yeah.
Yes, that strong candidate is Tiona, who runs in the turf. Now, a few people, I'd say, would be surprised that you're not going for the filly and mare turf, as it may seem an easier option. So what's the thinking behind that decision?
I think they're both tough races this year. I wouldn't necessarily say the fillies and mares would be a softer option. I think that's a solid race. We've chosen the turf really for the 1.5 mile trip. You know, she's a 1.5 mile filly, and you know, we almost closed our eyes to the opposition, and we ran her, you know, over her optimum distance, and we felt that would give her our best chance of winning.
She's a horse that you've always held in extremely high regard. I guess in the middle of the season, things perhaps weren't going exactly as planned, but something seemed to have clicked recently, and she's come bouncing back. Is there any particular reason for that?
Well, you know, her races didn't go to plan earlier in the year, and she didn't come out of the Oaks in great shape. Obviously, it was a heavy ground Oaks, and she had quite a rough passage that day, and it just seemed to knock her sideways. So we weren't really left with a choice to give her a summer campaign or not. We had to leave her alone and give her time. And you know, she's bounced back lovely, you know, from sort of the end of the summer onwards, and she's had a very good autumn at home. And you know, she didn't become not a good filly in the spring, but the 2 races we ran her in didn't really go her way. So we kept her faith, and you know, time was her best friend, and she's come back very strong in the autumn.
And I guess it's a question that every trainer has to answer when bringing a horse over to Del Mar about how she'll handle the track and the conditions.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an unknown, isn't it, until those gates open on Saturday. But you know, she's a very well-balanced filly. She's a natural athlete. We've always felt she's a fast ground filly. You know, the track is tight, but she's a strong traveller, and you know, I always think those slightly quirky tracks, whether they're tight and flat like a Del Mar, or whether they're sort of undulating and turning like you get back home, I think if you have a horse that travels, you have a much better chance of holding your position and actually getting around those bends. I think if you're on slightly a lazier type of a horse who's a bit behind the bridle, then sometimes the race can be over before they get going, whereas Tiona has always travelled strongly, and you know, we're hopeful that she'll handle the track, and we'll find out on Saturday.
Roger, thank you very much. Enjoy California. Good luck with Tiona. We're going to go out and join Christina.
Richie, thanks very much. I'm actually not far from you. I am right here on the horse path that would take horses from the quarantine barn straight up to the racetrack in between barns E and F. I have jumped aboard Sizzler, as you can see, and actually over my left shoulder is Hall of Fame jockey Johnny Velasquez. He's here and he's been waiting for a little while. The plan is for him to jump aboard Hello You for David Longnan and give her just a little bit of a blowout out on the track today. Johnny has been here since about 7:30, and we're in slightly a holding pattern because they've been a little bit late in terms of closing the track and switching surfaces and whatnot. They're backed up by about 10 minutes from the normal schedule in the mornings, and so we just had the call 5 minutes until the main track reopens. You'll see a group of horses here from the quarantine barn head trackside, and we will try to be as close to the action as possible, again with Johnny Velasquez aboard Hello You. Todd?
That just further ties into what Frankie Dettori was saying, the Ryder Cup feel here. It's Europe's best versus America's best. And the jockeys, that's a real treat for the fans who get to come to the races here over these 2 days.
Yeah, they don't get to, I mean, Frankie Dettori is a global name. We don't get to see him, but maybe a couple of times a year. So, absolutely. Just need the chance of ole, 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 ole.
I think it's a treat for the jockeys as well, and for the horsemen, because they have competed against one another, but they're fans of each other as well. And the opportunity to get together, they are opponents, but there is a real camaraderie amongst all of them, and to have the opportunity to kind of get to spend a little bit of time together before the big races and then after the races as well is a real welcome opportunity, especially given the circumstances that we've experienced over the last few years where travel internationally has been so limited.
Here's the experience going on right now out on the track. The fog is just getting heavier and heavier, and Kamari just barely to be seen there. Really only the Breeders' Cup saddle towel will tell you that's Kamari, 616. That's what these numbers are there for. So when you go to the Breakfast Marquee, sponsored by Windstar Farm and Fasig-Tipton, they have a sheet there so people can enjoy breakfast, watch the horses come by. They also have an announcer. And now we are aboard Kamari, thanks to Aaron Greider and the jockey camera.
Yeah, and again, probably just jogging back the wrong way, like he mentioned a lot of Wesley Ward's horses were doing. So, obviously our camera, the fog looks a lot thicker. From a safety standpoint, you can see here, there's plenty of visibility when you're on the top of a horse. You can see a long way in front of you. We actually have a better vantage point. It's not as foggy from the infield looking out to the track. Right. So it sort of depends on where you're standing and where you're looking from. But the horses themselves get through it pretty easily. And I bet they're enjoying this weather because it's cooler weather, the type that horses really relish.
And yesterday it kind of stayed with us. Normally this will burn off around between 10 and 11 a.m. Looking ahead to the 2 championship days of racing, Friday and Saturday, expected clear skies and the temperature pushing up to around 73 or 74 degrees. Hot Rod Charlie has been a big part of our mornings here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. And he has looked fantastic every time he's come out onto the racetrack. We get a chance to see him this morning as he prepares for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Yeah, he's been a focus of our trainers chart, so we've monitored his progress each and every day. We know what he's done. He worked last Saturday. He galloped the last couple of days, and he always comes out with the pony. That's Lava Man, of course, taking care of business there. That's his equine bodyguard, and he has just thrived. I mean, we've said it, and we repeat ourselves ad nauseum here about how these 3-year-olds have had little breaks and developed, and he's done a great job doing that. He'll stand out here, the pony will turn him loose here, and they'll probably go ahead and gallop about 1.5 miles, mile and a quarter. Having seen him in person at the Haskell and then the Pennsylvania Derby, I thought that's where you saw physically the biggest change. Yep. When he got a little bit of time off after that campaign of the Triple Crown and into the Haskell. Sometimes horses will lose a little bit of weight. They just need a little bit of time to regroup. And he really benefited from that, not just as far as, just mentally, but he came back stronger, bigger, put on a little bit of weight. He seemed to blossom to me physically, and you see more of the same, that just continuing here as he goes about his business. I think he does have a little bit of a home court advantage, even if Del Mar isn't where he's stabled on a regular basis. He didn't have to ship around. He got to stay in California for the most part, and to me, he hasn't missed a beat. He looks even better than he did when he shipped in for the Pennsylvania Derby. He's now riding a 2-race win streak, which is something he hasn't been able to do throughout much of his career. I think it's interesting that the blinkers go back on. This has been sort of an on-again, off-again situation with him, but he also has never had any severe blinkers. They've always been pretty small, what sometimes are referred to as cheater blinkers, because they're very tiny little blinkers. But I think it's interesting, and perhaps in response to the fact that, again, in the Pennsylvania Derby, he did seem to shy away a little bit from either a clocker stand or something in the infield. But if he actually runs straight and true, there is no telling how good he could be. The 2 starts without the blinkers, he was DQ'd, and he nearly caused himself another disqualification. So the idea of the blinkers to restrict peripheral vision. Sometimes horses see a lot of things that aren't there. The tree is a monster. The patrol judges stand to a horse looks like it's going to come out and get you. Their vision isn't that great, but they do have like 270-degree peripheral vision, so they can see a lot of stuff to the side that can spook them. He's going to put his blinkers on. Despite his busy schedule, Hot Rod Charlie is going to be throwing a party. Yep. You heard that right? It's the Hot Rod Breeders' Cup Festival Party at Viewpoint Brewing Company. That'll be this Friday from 6 p.m. to 10:45. Admission is $25. Includes food and 2 drink tickets with all net proceeds going to charity. So Hot Rod Charlie, one of the more popular horses here at the Breeders' Cup, and he's throwing a party. The Hot Rod Breeders' Cup Festival Party at Viewpoint Brewing Company in San Dieguito. Okay, so we heard some noise behind us. As we said, with this fog, everyone's got to be a little bit careful, a little bit with all the traffic here. I actually think it was the crowd, though, applauding with horses coming by. I think that that's the crowd reacting to certain instances, and I think that Hot Rod Charlie might have galloped right by. I'm not sure if it was Medina Spirit. I saw a Bob Baffert horse that was a Breeders' Cup horse out there, and I couldn't tell for sure who it was, but
whoever it was moving at a slower clip than Hot Rod Charlie was, who just went right on by pretty much everybody that was in the stretch. It was kind of reminiscent to me of I'll Have Another when he was training up to the Kentucky Derby.
Here's a royal flag for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff, finishing up through the lane here, out with a spirited gallop out on the track. And out on Sizzler, Christina Blacker in the middle of it all.
Todd, this is as busy as I have seen the track, and because of that little 10-minute delay, you're almost seeing a couple sets from different barns be ready to hit the track right now. Johnny Velasquez is out there on Hello You. You'll notice he has his stirrups tucked up. He has his jockey goggles on. He is ready for the little breeze with her. She went straight off, was going to gallop once around, and David Longman saying she's just going to go ahead and stretch her legs right down the stretch today. So this is his first chance to get to know her. Also just very, very busy right now. We saw Essential Quality. He's right to my left, the gray. Chili, if you want to pan right over this direction. He came out. He's been standing quietly for the last maybe 2 or 3 minutes. That's Blake Cox, Brad's son, with him there. He's going to go ahead and take that jog for the vets as per usual, and actually feeling good. Just kind of a little spring in his step. Quite a few more European runners have made their way out onto the track. Tarnawa passed me not long ago, and again, just so cool, calm, and collected. She does not turn a hair out here. This, again, Todd, this is as busy as it has been on the main track here.
Also got a glimpse. I like the people watching, too. Matt Chapman interviewing George Leonard III.
I would like to be a fly on the wall in that interview. That's a dichotomy of cultures right there.
Coming out onto the track, so many horses here. And do they limit at all? Is there a magic number? Okay, we got to stop here. Only so many horses can be out on the track?
No. I mean, the barn area can accommodate a lot more horses than there's back there right now. So, no, there's no limit. It's not like you take your ticket at the grocery store and wait in line at the deli counter at the gate. No, you can go on when you want to go on.
Let's go to the gate where Joaquin Jaime is.
Yeah, Todd, and as Christina was saying, it's as busy as she's seen it on the racetrack right now after this renovation break. This is as busy if I've seen it since we started our shows a few days ago here, schooling at the gate. We just had a couple that just broke out of the gate, but quite a few Breeders' Cup horses are schooling right now. We had home base for Mike Maker in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. That horse just had his schooling session right now. Right in front of us, this is Echo Zulu for Steve Asmussen. She's going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, a daughter of Gun Runner who was purchased for $300,000. And she has been perfect. She is 3 for 3, multiple Grade 1 winners. She won the Spinaway in her second start, followed it up with the victory in the Grade 1 for Zet, and now she'll be trying to go 2 turns. Then right next to Echo Zulu, that is going to be Cece for trainer Michael McCarthy. Cece was in the Distaff last year. She won a Breeders' Cup winning in this year in the Princess Rooney at Gulfstream Park. That gave her the berth into the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. So you're taking a look at 3 horses in the gate, but the one in the middle is the 2-year-old filly Echo Zulu, and then just to her outside, Michelle Yu, that is Cece, who's going to be in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint. Michelle.
Thanks, Joaquin. Like to watch those schoolers out there at the starting gate, and we also have again schoolers in the paddock. I'm joined right now by Aaron Wellman of Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners. They are going to send out Aloha West, and we're just walking right next to him right now as he's making his way to the paddock. Aaron, it was a little bit of a roundabout way to get here today.
Yeah, it's a little unconventional. I'm sort of the local boy here, so I was leading Kat around, telling him where to go, and they threw a pick against us. So that's all right. The horse is handling it well, and take a little bit more of the edge off him.
Tell us a little bit about coming into the Breeders' Cup with this horse. He doesn't have a graded stakes win yet.
Yeah, he's just a really progressive colt. We ran him in the Phoenix at Keeneland last time. He was unlucky not to beat Special Reserve that day. Credit to Special Reserve. I mean, he's an amazing, fast horse. But we thought, a few little tweaks here and there, we might have gotten the better of him. So this horse is just getting so good right now that we got to take our chance for $2 million.
Now I've seen you pretty much every morning out here with him. Do you see him progressing even right now? I mean, this is the crunch week.
Absolutely. This is the way you want to come into a Breeders' Cup race. This is the way you have to come into a Breeders' Cup race. There's no margin for error, and this horse is just getting better and better by the day. He might lack in experience in these types of races compared to his competition. I mean, it's an incredible field. Jackie's Warrior, Dr. Shivel, Following C, Special Reserve. I mean, you name it, they're in here. So these are the fastest horses in the world. But as far as our horse is concerned, Wayne Catalano's done an incredible job developing him this year. He's come so far so quickly. And, one thing that people don't know about about Cat, or sort of gets lost in the shuffle, is that he's got 3 Breeders' Cup wins. So when he shows up at the big dance, he hits the target, and we're hoping that we sort of have that opportunity on Saturday.
Looking at him, he doesn't seem to have a confirmed running style. They're obviously going to go fast, but where would you like to see him?
6 furlongs is probably a little short of his best distance, so he's kind of a late running sprinter type. I don't think we could have asked for anything more as far as help, as far as the draw was concerned. With following Sea Draw in the rail, I think that forces his hand to go with Johnny and Jockey's Warrior just to his outside, and then Dr. Shivel and Special Reserve on the outside. We're in the middle, so Jose got to know him really well last time in the Phoenix, and I think that he's able to be a lot more tactical than he's shown in the Phoenix because he had to come from so far out of it. So we'd like to just see a little bit of a pace line up in front of him, sit right behind, stay on hold, and then hopefully have enough horse to blast by.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate the time this morning.
Always.
Aloha West took his nice little grand tour of Del Mar this morning.
Yeah, and he has looked the part, and as we said, the Catman Wayne Catalano has been here all week supervising everything going on. That's saying something because Wayne has a big barn he has to manage, and so I've watched him up in the breakfast marquee when...
well, he likes a good breakfast.
He does like a good breakfast.
If you follow him on Twitter, he's a great follower.
Cook it himself.
Yeah, he does.
He is. He was impressed by the bourbon glazed ham here. He's like, I'm ordering one of those for the holidays. Going to make it back at home. But he's hoping to order a win here in the Cutter Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint. One of the biggest stars is out on the track right now. Essential Quality, the leader of the 3-year-old division. But can he beat older horses and thereby securing what I assume would be a Horse of the Year honor if he takes the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic?
You would think so. I mean, he's looked tremendous all week. We're going to show you again what we did with Gamine, maybe after this segment here. A split screen of him working a year ago compared to this year, and you can see the development, the growth from 2 to 3 physically. It's just been tremendous.
So he's certainly a bigger, stronger version of himself, and he has a way about him, doesn't he, as far as attitude, a presence. He takes things in stride. Even walking, he seems to kind of float across the ground. If not for some trouble that started out of the starting gate in the Kentucky Derby and led to not the best of trips, he might be perfect heading into the Classic, and the horse everyone would be talking about. But to be fair, Hot Rod Charlie gave him everything and then some in the Belmont Stakes. But we know he's a 1.25 mile horse. It's interesting that he is coming into this race off of a very long layoff, and he's looking to do something no horse has done before, and that's win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and come back and win the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, beating Hot Rod Charlie in that Juvenile. I mean, I just love when the form transfers from the 2-year-old year, the freshman year, to the sophomore year. It's held up well. And I would argue maybe Essential Quality. We haven't seen many races with him off the layoff. We've seen 2 of them. I count the first race, the debut, right, as off the layoff. He won by 4, and then earlier this year in the spring, he ran off the layoff and he won by 4. Visually and numbers-wise, maybe, I say numbers-wise, maybe not the best figures off the layoff, but I think visually, his 2 races off the layoff have been outstanding, and he looks like he's going to do the same thing here this weekend. I mean, he's just been a model student, a model athlete all week long.
This morning, his coat is like camouflage.
Yep.
He matches the fog that is out there right now. And, Kate, you were talking with Brad Cox before they left Churchill Downs about the importance of his exercise riders, and we've got to see them make the trip out here as well.
Now, in this case, the rider that has been with him all along is Edwin Vargas, and he has done a tremendous job with him. Laurent Giroux was deputizing for Louis Saez and breezing him, I think, his last 3 works, and he did breeze him prior to the Kentucky Derby as well. He knows him. After the work last time, he said, I wish I was riding him, that's for sure.
I think the exercise rider that's riding this year, if we, I don't know whether we can bring up the video I'm kind of producing from the set, the split screen. I think it's the same exercise rider that worked him last year. At least it looked like it.
I believe it is.
Yeah, he's been with him a long, long time, and you'll see that with good horses. Trainers, once they find the right exercise rider, they'll keep that team intact as long as they can.
Now, I will say Katie Tauber did get on him and worked with him at Saratoga. I think he's the type of horse that is able to be galloped by a lot of different people, but primarily Edwin has been around him throughout much of his time with Brad. And, just such a classy pro.
Essential Quality, one of the favorites for the biggest race of the 2 days, the Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday, to highlight it all. And that may determine the 2021 Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge. You could be in with the best horse players in the world. It's a $10,000 buy-in, $7,500 betting bankroll, and at $2,500 for the prize pool. That means with 400 participants, we're talking about $1 million cash prize pool. For more information and to register, visit breederscup.com/BCBC. When we come back, we tell you the story of Jackie's Warrior, the favorite for the Cutter Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint.
When a new wave calls, you answer. When adventure calls, you answer. When the surf calls, you paddle out. When sunsets call, you find the best view. When the sand in your toes calls, you put more sand between them. When the ocean calls, you wave hello. Because when happiness calls, you answer. San Diego Happiness is calling you back.
Upgrade your betting experience. The TVG app now includes more features. Track bets with live updates and view potential winnings. Got knocked out of your multi-race wager? Choose Create Bet to play the remaining selections. Alive in the last leg? View personalized wheel pace and see approximate payouts before results are posted. Plus, easily access TVG's improved handicapping tools, including TVG Insights, number fire picks, and odds trend. Bet with the latest features now.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Get cash back for finishing second or third on all Breeders' Cup races. TVG. Onto the app. Off to the races.
A fogged-in morning on this Wednesday prior to the 38th renewal of the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on TVG. I'm Todd Schrupp, very pleased to be with Caton Bradar and Simon Bray. And we just saw Essential Quality out on the racetrack. He has thrived in the mornings. He has not raced since August 28th at the Travers, but he looks like he is primed for maybe one of the best performances of his career. And he'll need it because the depth of the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic is quite impressive.
Biggest threat comes to the horse that's stable right next to him. Nick's got, right? His stablemate. That's the biggest threat he's got.
And you're going to show us later his workout from last year versus workout this year?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a comparison. We saw it with Gamine. There was no difference. But with Essential Quality, we've got a horse that's transitioning from 2 to 3. You see the growth, the development, and the change in him in 365 days is quite remarkable.
And Caton, in the Cutter Breeders' Cup Sprint, you have to say the 3-year-old holds the advantage there, Jackie's Warrior. So the 3-year-olds are really going to assert themselves against their older counterparts in various divisions.
You know, this is the time of year that we start to see those horses hit full maturity and take those big steps forward. We'll see it particularly in the Classic with the 3-year-olds like Essential Quality taking on his elders. We see it in the Sprint division as well. We're going to get a test, I think, amongst the fillies and the Distaff as well to see whether the 3-year-old fillies can close the gap on their elders like Latrusa.
It's cyclical, our sport, Todd. We don't have a dominant handicap horse, right? So the 3-year-olds, it's a passing of the baton. The 3-year-olds kind of come into the picture there. We've had some horses like Whitmore had been represented in the Sprint for many years. They've gone by the wayside. So it's now a chance for the 3-year-olds to come along, develop, and maybe take the torch and pass the baton.
But in terms of the Sprint division, Todd, the one thing that 3-year-old has had is speed, and he's had it all along.
Yeah. Okay, many horses coming back out to the racetrack in the middle of it all. Christina Blacker.
Todd, the team from Aiden O'Brien's are actually going to be passing right behind you guys at the set any second now. I spoke to Rachel. She is one of the traveling folks that has been helping out. She's on the pony and leading them. The same routine for today. So they're going to back up once around on the main track, meaning they will jog going the wrong way all the way around for a mile. Then they'll stop, they'll turn, and they will gallop the correct way on the racetrack for another mile before pulling up and going ahead and heading back to the barn. Of note, yesterday, Mogul got very, very warm, real washy, very, very nervous. It was the first day on track, so that's somewhat understandable. He looked much better today so far, so keep an eye on him. Broom was acting up just a touch. Again, everything's pretty unfamiliar when they went to turn left and kind of start heading around the racetrack. He gave a few bucks, a few squeals, but he seems to have settled down right now. And then the last horse I wanted to comment on was A Case of You, almost a 2-minute lick, real big, strong, quick gallop right down against the rail for A Case of You. Just about a minute or two ago, we might see him coming off the track any second now. Todd?
Been talking about everyone wants to see the Aiden O'Brien horses come out, and that's what's happening right now. When last we saw Mike Joyce, he was in the buddy seat of a John Deere. Where are you now, Mike?
Well, I'm on the turf course that those Aiden O'Brien horses you just saw will be competing on come Friday and Saturday. I'm joined by Leif Dickinson. He is the superintendent of the turf course here, and he is the one who maintains the Jimmy Durante turf course, a world-famous surface hosting a world-class event, which is really the theme here. So as far as your job coming, it's also the start of a meet. What's it like starting with the fresh turf course and getting it ready for such a big day?
Well, it's not really fresh. It's we kind of regrow it the best we can at the conclusion of the summer meet, and basically with us going into the fall meet, it's all about staying off of it, where we really want to create this lush, dense surface that withstands the rigors of racing. It's just completely opposite of what you would think of golf and sports turf. It's the complete other side of the coin. We want this aggressive, thatchy, unkept surface that's kind to the horse. That's everything we try to achieve.
And we've got some of the tools of the trade here. This will be pretty cool. So you have a couple of implements of plying your craft here. Tell me what we have here.
This is called a going stick. It measures the penetration resistance and the shear resistance. You combine those two numbers and it gives you what's called a going. We always try to keep the track within a certain range. So every day, if it's a 4 today, we want it to be a 4 tomorrow, and the 4 the next day, etc. That's everything we do. So we have to essentially look at today, see what's going to happen tomorrow with the weather, and we have to kind of be Nostradamus and be all-seeing and all-knowing. It's difficult to keep this at the same point every day.
All right, let's get a reading right now. Let's show me how this works. We're going to bring the camera in a little bit closer.
Okay. We step on it. We pull it back, and that's giving me a 4.4 reading right now.
And that's right where you want it.
4 to 4.4, 4.5, yeah. That's about where we want it.
And then the other implement of penetration on the turf course here, what is this?
This is a moisture meter. We do 2 readings every morning. We take the going stick readings and we take the moisture readings. Then at the end of the day, we come back through. We know what the moisture is in the morning. If we're happy with that, we know what the forecast is for the next day. We can essentially put back what the turf lost that day. So it's exactly the same moisture-wise. So it's penetration and it's moisture. You have to compare the two. In the evening, it's just a moisture meter.
Now I want to get my cameraman to get a shot of the turf course. What are we looking at? It does look like a thick shag carpet right now. So this is the effect that you were hoping to have, right?
We liken it to a pillow. It's a firm base on top of a pillow. And we soften the base and leave the cushion alone. It's kind of like the main track. You've got a base, a pad, and a cushion. Well, the turf is the same way. The grass is your cushion, the thatch is the pad, and the soil is your base. It works the same way, you just manage them differently.
I mean, this is the same thing that a superintendent of a golf course would do. It's just, like you said, the opposite effect.
This is completely different from golf. I've hired a golf superintendent as my assistant, and it's been a learning curve to get him up. No, it's not golf. We don't care about how the ball rolls or none of that. It's all about how soft can we make this so it still holds up to racing.
Well, it looks fantastic. Leif, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It was quite educational as we go now to Scott Hazelton.
Mike, there's a lot of people that are going to be on board with Jackie's Warrior in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Let's face it, he's the favorite. He's the speed of the race. He's been insanely talented over the course of his career when going one turn. But I promise you, you're going to love this horse even more after you get a chance to meet Kirk and Judy Robinson.
I'm Judy. He's Kirk. Our last name is Robinson, and we have been together for 60 years, and we've been married all that time.
We're in the restaurant business, and our primary business is the Peter Piper Pizza franchise in Texas. And then we're in the Applebee's business, and we got a little chicken brand called Boss Chicken and Tenders, and custard, which you enjoyed a little bit earlier. They both had the chocolate. They liked it.
It's good.
So, we live in El Paso. We came here in the early 70s from Southern California, and had an opportunity to buy 4 little restaurants called Wiener Schnitzel, so we took that opportunity. That was 48 years ago, and we're still here. Once I got into racing and exposed to it, it never left me. And I knew going in that they would be expensive, meaning it's hard to make money in racing. I've proven that every day of my life since I've been in racing. I used to claim horses more than anything else. Then we kind of morphed into buying yearlings at Keeneland September with Steve Asmussen, and that's become our dominant way to get good horses. And also we breed in Kentucky, New Mexico, and California. We have about 20 mares. I've only had one trainer in the East, that was Steve. So it's really been a Steve show all the way. If a trainer buys a horse and has to train the horse, it's pretty obvious they should be motivated to pick out the best horse they can for the kind of budget you're spending.
Kirk names all of our horses except Jackie's Warrior. The breeder's sister-in-law had brain cancer. Her name is Jackie, and I guess was recovering or had recovered, and they named the horse for her. So we were really glad that we had not changed the name of the horse, but it's the only horse we've ever owned that we didn't name.
You don't give any Grade 1 winners that win again as a Grade 1 level and then win again at the Grade 1 level. Those are rare. I may never have another one like him. He's that good. We see everything on television or my iPad if I'm traveling. And thanks to TVG, it's our favorite channel, of course. Has to be. This horse has run, I think, 11 times in 14 months. That's an iron horse. Steve texted me and said, this is the fastest horse in the world. And I'm not sure I want that to make the cut here, but he was proud of the horse. Having said that, he's a 3-year-old, and he'll be trying to beat older horses in the sprint. Not easy to do, but he's never faced a 4-year-old. He's going to do that in November, and we'll see. So there's a lot of serendipity in racing. It just, some days it comes your way and some days it doesn't. It's hard to win. Right. It just is.
And what a fantastic horse Jackie's Warrior has been throughout his career. 4 wins last year, 4 wins this year, including wins in the Allen Jerkins, the Gallant Bob, his prep race for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. His only defeat this season came to drain the clock in the Woody Stevens going 7/8 of a mile, but he is the speedster, and certainly this race goes through him. 9 3-year-olds have won the Breeders' Cup Sprint in the past, most recently Dre Fong in 2016, the year prior as well, with the champion Run Happy, who won it in 2015 at Keeneland Racecourse. And speaking of Jackie, whom this horse is named after, John Williams, the breeder of Jackie's Warrior, I had a chance to speak to him yesterday. He says that he's hoping to get Jackie out here, his sister-in-law, for the Breeders' Cup this Saturday, so hopefully she's able to make the journey. We appreciate the cooperation from the Robinsons, the Williams family, for those pictures of Jackie as she went through her treatment for cancer. And Todd, Simon, Caton, Peter Piper Pizza was one of the things that caught from that package, and the Robinsons are fantastic individuals, and it takes me back to my childhood because I spent a good portion of my childhood in Arizona, and Peter Piper Pizza was part of the fabric, really, of the Phoenix area, and their jingle was, "Peter Piper Pizza is the pizza place for me." Give it a go, Todd.
Sir, chance
Yeah,
I
right.
could do that. I could eat the food, but I don't think I could do the tagline. That was fantastic. Of course, Applebee's bourbon steak and Oreo shake, I think, is the big thing on TikTok right now. But, you know, owners supporting a trainer like Steve Asmussen all those years, it seems like when you see these connections at the Breeders' Cup, it makes sense. You see why a particular owner found a particular trainer.
Well, and, you know, that loyalty factor and that long-time relationship that is so rare in the sport today is so refreshing to see personified with Jackie's Warrior, not to mention the story of the name and the fact that this would be the only horse that is not named by the current owners. It just gives you so much more to root for beyond the horse's running lines.
The relationship between owner and trainer in this business can sometimes get very complicated. You don't see it. It's like an NFL owner, you know, trying to be a coach on the sidelines. We have that dynamic in our sport. Longevity as far as relationships, it doesn't happen very often, so that's unique. And I think you can tell from that. Kurt Roberson is very successful in his business, but he employs a trainer to do that job. He doesn't interfere. You know, you're not going to go to the dentist and tell your dentist how to perform a root canal. So he just lets Steve do the job, lets him pick the horses, and it's been
Jackie's
productive.
Warrior, the 6-5 morning line favorite for the Cutter Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint. Michelle?
Long time to walk. Thanks so much, Todd. I'm walking right now with Aiden O'Brien, who was just overseeing his string out here. Aiden, what did you have your horses out doing this morning? What were your thoughts?
They just did a little stronger canter than yesterday, but they all seemed to be fine. It was just a little bit quicker. They went kind of 7.5 furlongs, were a little bit quicker.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your entrants. In the filly and mare turf, you have Love. She was a great 3-year-old this year. Hasn't been as sparkling against older. What are your thoughts coming in?
Yeah, no, she's in good form. Her last 2 runs, she ran a very good race the last day at the Curragh. She was just beaten, given plenty away to the second filly, but she's come out of the race well. And then I suppose she hasn't run she missed her last 2 runs for different things, but seems to be in good form.
Looking over at Mother Earth as well. Since her runner-up effort in last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf, she's put together 2 Group 1 wins. She seems to be coming in here in solid form.
Yeah, she a lovely run the last day again is right. At Ascot, came out of the race very well. She finished off the last 3 furlongs very quick. It was the quickest of all the horses in the race. She's very consistent. She's doing well. I'm happy with her as well.
We talked to Frankie Dettori a little bit earlier about him, who's going to be getting on Broom. We'll try not to be run over here. Do you think that Broom was maybe hindered by the ground last time?
I think maybe the pace wasn't strong enough for him. He broke well, but the pace went down out of the race. He's a horse wants a very strongly run race. He's an even galloper. We think maybe the pace wasn't really quick enough for him more than anything.
Aiden, whenever you bring horses over here, fully armed, it's like you know exactly which ones to bring out of your huge yard. How do you decide which horses are the right ones that fit in with American racing?
Yes, I suppose whatever. Obviously, you have to have pace over here, and they have to be able to break and travel. It's very competitive, and the reality is you just kind of try and bring your best horses, really, and hopefully then you're good enough to compete, really.
Looks like you always choose the right ones. Thanks so much for the time, Aiden.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Todd?
He has been a big reason why the Breeders' Cup has succeeded and grown over this last part of its history. I think you could go back to, say, an owner like Gene Klein and D. Wayne Lucas and the way they supported the 2-year-old races on at the Breeders' Cup. Aiden Bryan's presence has meant a lot here at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's one of the juggernauts. He trains for Cornwall. The lads, as he likes to call them, John Magnier and Michael Tabor, they're not frightened to take a shot. And ultimately, their focus was the Classic. Ultimately, they were trying to win that Classic for a long, long time. Tough thing to do, but they've had so much success in the turf races, and he's done a great job. I mean, he's won more Grade 1s around the world than pretty much anybody, and works hard. Like I talked to him one time. He's like, I travel all over the world, and he goes, I don't see any of the city or have any fun time to relax and have fun. In, do my work, leave.
Bill Mott has been here all week long doing a lot of work with some horses that have big chances in their respective divisions. And Art Collector, a horse on the rise, heading toward the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, out on the track right now.
Yeah, a horse who's jumped into Bill Mott's barn, and he's 3 for 3, improved with the win last time out, which I thought was very impressive in the Woodward. But, you know, his biggest issue is he likes to be close to the lead, and he's not going to get it. By Bill Mott's own words, Nick's Go is going to get the lead. They just have to settle in and see how the race shapes up. Looks like he's going to walk through the paddock here on the way to the paddock.
You kind of wonder if he has to have the lead, though, Simon.
Right.
He was very effective earlier in his career when he won the Bluegrass, sitting that kind of stalking trip. So I'm eager to see what he can do.
We will be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on TVG in just a moment.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool.
You couldn't compose a better pedigree. A half-brother to Beholder.
Beholder's gonna go all the way.
A half-brother to Into Mischief.
Into Mischief wins the Cast Car Futurity.
The most versatile performer from this brilliant family.
Mendelssohn's gonna do it. Mendelssohn has won it by a length.
What a win by Mendelssohn. Mendelssohn by a conservative 17 lengths.
Scat Daddy's best-bred son at stud. Mendelssohn.
Turn your love of racing into savings with equine discounts through the NTRA. Purchase through equine discounts and receive great savings on well-known brands like John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Farmers Insurance, and Office Depot. Join thousands of other equine members and support companies that give back to the sport we all love. Call 866-678-4289 or visit equinediscounts.com to start saving today.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Pegasus, the divine winged horse that flew with heroes mounted for glory. Arrogant, gun runner, city of light, mucho gusto, and Nick's Go. Racing, the thunder and the lightning on the track, energy in the stands. Vibe, fashion, entertainment, all for one.
It was in 2013 that the first thoroughbred makeover took place with just 26 horses in attendance. Since then, it has grown to have over 400 horses checking in this year, with over 1,000 of them in training during the 20 to 2021 period. The horses range everywhere from 3 to 14, and 46 states were represented at this year's makeover. It truly shows that the thoroughbred is not only majestic and athletic, and we love to watch them race, but wow, are they versatile, and everybody loves to watch them in their next career. So it's been a real joy to get to watch races with the racehorses on the track, but to get to see them in the makeover, horses like Imperative and Ashley Love Sugar that raced right here in Southern California, has been a true treat, Simon.
No doubt, Michelle. Thank you very much. As we come back here to our set, favorite time of the day for me, it's time to get to the social board out here, thanks to our friends Twitter Talk at America's Best Racing. All right, let's start it off. As many of you know, McKinnon, Eric Johnson, longtime owner of racehorses, he posted this earlier yesterday. Owner and Avalanche player, or the Breeders' Cup did. Eric Johnson is joined by teammate McKinnon. That's Nathan McKinnon there, who's the horse is named after in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf. Undefeated going long on the turf. Eric Johnson, of course, a long-time racehorse owner, names a lot of his horses after his teammates. Alternate captain Nathan McKinnon in the locker room will be cheering on McKinnon this weekend. All right, let's move this aside. One thing we should remember is Mike Joyce's hit the other day about the surfboards. I want to give you a quick reminder about that. buy a board, support the PDJF. That's still in play. Go directly to the PDJF fund to take care of that. Go and bid on these surfboards. They are a great opportunity to get a nice piece of memorabilia from Breeders' Cup 2021. And finally, the last tweet. Here's the thing. Social media, what it's been around for about the last 10 years, it provides a lot of people to put their opinion out there in the mainstream. You add that along with horse racing opinions, this sport lives on opinions, good and bad, day in and day out. There was one that we picked up yesterday, and I bring this up because maybe it's a point for a follow-on discussion to bring some ideas and thoughts into tomorrow's social board. This is from Ed DeRosa, who posted this yesterday, and I'm not sure. I mean, there's opinions, good and bad, but this one is, for me, is borderline. Well, I'll just leave it there. Crazy. Latrusa does not deserve Horse of the Year if she wins the Breeders' Cup Distaff, no matter what happens in the other races. So he's pretty much saying she's got no shot regardless of who wins the Classic. Any of the Classic faves would be 1 to 20 to win the Distaff, and even money to win by 10. Just stop. The Distaff is not where Horse of the Year are crowned. It's Horse of the Year. It's not Classic Winner of the Year, Ed. And I'll look back to Bricks and Mortar, champion Horse of the Year on the turf. Favorite Trick was Horse of the Year as a 2-year-old. Wise Dan, 2-time Horse of the Year. Azeri was Horse of the Year, I think, back in 2003, 2004, and I think Ed voted for her that day. So, look, he's allowed his opinion. Totally disagree with that. It's Horse of the Year, not Classic Winner of the Year, right, guys?
And the biggest name that would be a counterpoint to his point is Lady Secret. When she won the Breeders' Cup Distaff, it still became Horse of the Year. And Caton, you know, we have a generation that forgot how Horse of the Year was voted on prior to this. We had no Breeders' Cup to determine it. We did have a filly and/or mare win Horse of the Year a couple of years before the inaugural running of the Breeders' Cup. That was all along. She had a shortened campaign on the turf here in the United States. It was kind of like college football where we just let the media vote who was number one. We didn't have a play-in tournament. The Breeders' Cup early on showed that we could look at the Eclipse Awards differently, especially Horse of the Year. And to me, the seminal moment was Lady Secret winning the Breeders' Cup Distaff and then being named Horse of the Year.
The Breeders' Cup decides champions, crowns champions, when they are taken in the perspective of everything that has happened over the course of the year leading up to that championship moment, not by themselves. And if you are only looking at Classic Division contenders, then you eliminate any other category of horse, which is, in my mind, kind of a foolish proposition.
Ed DeRosa has just been Ed DeRoasted. If you'd like to participate in that conversation, make sure you tag Simon with more Twitter talk tomorrow. We get to more out on the racetrack here at Del Mar. And taking a look at Dunbar Road, who has the task of beating Latrusa in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. Dunbar Road is one who's always had the talent, but we just haven't seen her have that breakthrough moment this season.
One of a couple in this race, in Chad Brown's stable, who, you know, are brilliant race mares in their own right. The other Royal Flag draws toward the inside. Dunbar Road draws toward the outside in post position 11. 5-year-old mare comes out of a second-place finish in the Spinster behind Latrusa and arguably ran a really good effort to come up just a length and 3/4 short. She was down on the inside that day. I think she benefits from the draw in this particular regard because I kind of think she's a little bit more comfortable when she gets to kind of sort things out rather than being down on the inside. But she is looking to kind of regain some of that flash that we saw a little bit earlier in her campaign.
Yeah, her last Grade 1 win was the Alabama in her 3-year-old season back in 2019. We showed you Art Collector as we were going out to break. He was headed to the paddock, and now he's back out on the track here.
You know, I want to say something else about Belmont. We were talking about trainers and their relationship to the Breeders' Cup, but in general, in terms of international racing, I think from the United States going back.
Okay, explain this sound that we're hearing right here.
It usually means we have a loose horse out there, and you can see our collector, you know, he's very aggressive. That siren is warning to all the participants and exercise riders on the track that there is a loose horse here.
And he may well pull up because oftentimes that's what a rider will do. If they're uncertain where the loose horse is, they will just pull their horse up out of the exercise and try to move them out of the way just to be sure that they are not in any danger.
Okay, we're going to try and figure out the situation, who the loose horse is, and hopefully no one is going to be affected here. More from Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup on TVG in just a moment.
West Coast champion 3-year-old colt and multiple Grade 1 winner with over $5 million in earnings. He dominated the Pennsylvania Derby by more than 7 lengths and went wire to wire in the Travers, defeating all 3 classic winners.
I would say the Travers was his best performance. He just got out there with that big frame of his and he just galloped away from a fantastic field of horses.
A descendant of the AP Indy Sire line, West Coast stands to continue that legacy at Lane's End.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day. And the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
Eclipse champion Blame has sired 5 Grade 1 winners, including Nadal, Marley's Freedom, Fault, Abscon, and French Classic winner Senga. Recent top runners include Aga Khan stud Saidabad, a star performer overseas, plus these recent standout performers. With success on the track and success in the ring, this proven son of Arch is truly a gold value stallion. Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We are back here at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club as breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues here on TVG. For the past few days on social media, we've been asking you to get involved to find the best Breeders' Cup race call in Breeders' Cup history, and that spans over 37 years, going to the inaugural running back in the mid-'80s. We started with the round of 16. We knocked it down to a round of 8. We then had the final 4. And as we look at the final bracket and the final matchup for the 2, it's the 2001 Classic at Belmont Park, which Tiz now won, taking on the 2009 Breeders' Cup Classic winner with Zenyatta. Let's go to the winner, and it's Tom Durkin in the 2001 Breeders' Cup Classic with Tiz now.
Sent on their way in the Breeders' Cup Classic to the roar of the Santa Anita crowd. Regal Ransom bounced away quickly. Zenyatta is dead last. Zenyatta's dead last early. It's Regal Ransom going on. Gio Ponte, Einstein is right there. Colonel John in the white colours. Summerbird has the red cap in the vanguard too. Rip Van Winkle is on the outside and Twice Over racing right behind them. They tightly grouped and not in a big hurry out on the lead. Then it's Awesome Gem. Gio Ponte's back 4th last. Been followed then by Richard's Kid. Then comes Mind That Bird and Zenyatta is dead last. Zenyatta last, got to be giving them about 10, 11 length start. They grow to the 3/4 pole now in the Classic, and it's Regal Ransom just setting a sensible pace, not in a big hurry out here. Rip Van Winkle now goes up 2nd, and Colonel John scrapes the paint in 3rd. Einstein's right there too. Girolamo, white cap far side. Here's Kentasormo and Summerbird. They 6 at the rail, just 5 off the leader. Then it comes Twice Over, Awesome Gem, and Gio Ponte's giving them 7 length start. Then it's Richard's Kid. Now here's Zenyatta. Zenyatta is still a good 10-11 off the leaders, and then it's 4 back to Mind That Bird. A half mile to go now in the Classic, and still the leader is Regal Ransom, 1.5 lengths. Rip Van Winkle being sent along after him. Then Colonel John. On the far side, Girolamo. Einstein is right there. Summerbird at the rail. Twice Over is next. Then Awesome Gem. Gio Ponte's behind that. Then Richard's Kid. And now here's Zenyatta, and let's see. Zenyatta has a lot of ground to make up. Zenyatta, if she wins this, she'll be a super horse. She's starting to pick them off, though. Zenyatta going to hook to the outside. Meanwhile, it's Colonel John. Summerbird in the red cap. And Zenyatta's come to the outside. Zenyatta coming flying on the grandstand side. Gio Ponte on the inside. Summerbird is right there. This is unbelievable. Zenyatta, what a performance. One we'll never forget. Looked impossible.
Well, my apologies there. Clearly got them mixed up. The final bracket was between Tiznow in 2001 and 2009 taking on Zenyatta. The winner was Zenyatta, the first female to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, an outstanding race call from Trevor Denman as well back in 2009. And one of the things I remember about Zenyatta winning the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2009 was being so far back, still at the top of the stretch of the quarter pole. I feel like everyone in the grandstand, Todd, that day realized it pretty much at the exact same time, Todd, that as soon as she was able to ease out over the hills of Twice Over, the grandstand just elevated to another loud roar in there as she was able to go ahead and run down everybody in the stretch. So, Todd, that has been the debate on Twitter as we are trying to find the best Breeders' Cup race call over the last 37 years, and it goes to Zenyatta and Trevor Denman in the 2009 Breeders' Cup Classic.
Both of them were phenomenal calls and phenomenal races, and we were privileged to be at both of those races. Thank you to everyone who participated in voting for the best race call in Breeders' Cup history. Okay, so we saw the loose horse that actually came by, and it was a very difficult situation because the equipment horse was starting to get tangled up in it. We assumed that that was taken care of. In fact, we were told that horse was off the track, but then all of a sudden this warning sound came on again.
Yeah, I'm not sure. This must be a recorded video, right, of Pinehurst, because the track
she is coming behind us right here.
Yeah. So I'm not sure whether this is a false alarm.
Sometimes when, I don't know if this happens here, but at other tracks I know sometimes when the alarm goes on, it becomes a little hard to get it back off, or it just keeps firing. But I haven't heard anyone come on the PA to announce that there's a loose horse, which I noticed last time there was a PA that was announcing exactly where the loose horse was and when the horse was off the track. I have not heard those similar announcements thus far, so I'm not exactly sure what's happening behind us, but Pinehurst is on the track for sure. Pinehurst is part of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile field. We're hearing that the horse ambulance has to get onto the track to then be able to get to the backstretch.
Okay.
So this siren is alerting all the riders that are on the track that the horse ambulance is now taking a trip on portion of the racetrack to get to the backstretch. And now it stops because they have made it to the backstretch.
Okay, so this is an example of all the protocols that are in place, not only here at the Breeders' Cup, but every racetrack in the morning. The health and well-being of our equine athletes, the men and women who ride them, always of paramount importance, and we're watching that on display here at the Breeders' Cup. Now taking a look at a contender in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. More than a contender, she already has a win over Latrusa. Talking about She Dares the Devil.
And she would be champion filly mare of the year, right, if she wins this race, because she would have beaten Latrusa twice. I mean...
I don't know about that. I mean, most have assumed, no matter what happens with Latrusa, she's got that wrapped up. Older female horse as far as the Eclipse Awards. But She Dares the Devil, that is kind of an interesting case.
I think it will depend on how She Dares the Devil, how that win would materialize.
If
and
it's
what would
half a length ahead,
exactly.
Right. If it's 4 or 5 lengths, then...
I think there's an awful lot of support for everything that Latrusa has done this year up to this point, regardless of what happens in the Distaff. And what Latruska's done is impressive, but what She Dares the Devil has done is very good at this point. And that win at Oaklawn was a pretty big performance to go along with the fact that She Dares the Devil seems to really like Del Mar. She performed very well here when she shipped in for the Clement Hirsch, and I thought that was one of her best performances to date. Notably, she was favored, and the competition, not what she's going to face in the Breeders' Cup Distaff for sure, but I think she's a better horse at 1 1/8 than she is at 1 1/16.
And she has a win here at Del Mar. A real possibility in the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. She Dares the Devil. We're going to take a short timeout. We'll be back with more of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
The November sale is a destination event for buyers and sellers around the world.
The ambiance during the September sale was incredible.
As we move into Keeneland November, I think people will find a new experience, a new atmosphere, new optimism. Anybody who participates, buying and selling, when they participate in Keeneland, they're reinvesting in the industry. That is the mission. It allows us to build for the future, and the future is bright.
The future is bright at Keeneland November.
Friday and Saturday, get cash back for finishing second or third on all Del Mar races. We'll refund your first win wager up to $10. Breeders' Cup Friday and Saturday. Bet to win to get money back for finishing second or third. Opt in at tvg.com/promos. Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific.
PNC Bank believes that if a pair of goggles can help your backhand get better, then your bank should help you budget even better. Virtual Wallet is so much more than a checking account. Its low cash mode feature gives you at least 24 hours of extra time to help you avoid an overdraft fee.
You see that?
Virtual Wallet with low cash mode from PNC Bank. One way we're making a difference.
Reaching for the wire, collected alongside, and then comes West Coast and War Story, but Gunrunner's on top of the world! He wins the Breeders' Cup Classic!
In 2017, Gunrunner punctuated his Horse of the Year campaign with a dominant victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. This year, the World Championships return to the Seaside Oval, and the biggest names in the sport have assembled at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. Who will rise to the occasion and emerge as this year's definitive star? TVG brings you all the action as the competitors and their connections make their final preparations for the biggest weekend of the year. Welcome to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
It is a thoroughbred racing venue unlike any other in the world, and it truly is a jewel in American thoroughbred racing. The Del Mar Thoroughbred Club will bring the world's best together for 2 championship days of racing this Friday and Saturday. Welcome to our coverage on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. I'm Todd Schrupp, very pleased to be with Caton Bradar and Simon Bray. We thought it was going to be just kind of a laid-back morning after all. The first championship days Friday, then the other big day on Saturday. Instead, we've had a lot of activity out here on the main track, some surprises as well. But I think the biggest surprise is this weather. It's really cold and it's really foggy.
Well, it's cold in relative terms to those who are used to California weather, but it's actually pretty nice compared to what we left in Kentucky, and I'm sure for those who came in from New York.
And Simon, we've been seeing a lot of the horses coming in from Europe. These are ideal for conditions for them to get introduced to Del Mar.
Yeah, and that's why it's busy. They're out on the track. All the North American domestic base horses, their heavy lifting has been done. They're kind of just winding down into the race. The last 48 hours, 24 hours is, the Europeans are gearing up because it's the first time they get onto the track. So we've seen them on the track. All the American horses, a lot of, final preparations, go into the gate, go into the paddock. And we had a loose horse just to make everything even more exciting. So we had a little bit of everything this morning.
One of the biggest stars of the 2 days of championship racing is Latrusa. She is the favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff. She's out on the track. She's done something a little bit different every day.
Yeah, she's been a focus of our training chart report, and she worked last Saturday, the familiar work where she got hooked up in company. She walked, then she galloped galloped with the pony on Monday. She galloped by herself yesterday, and it looks like she's probably going to go ahead and gallop by herself today, probably.
And we should mention, when she gallops with the pony, she often does it without any tack or
Without the
rider on her back. And now she's with the pony, but as an escort, and may break off by herself, as we see her doing right now, but she's just doing a little jog at this point. When she does gallop, she's been picking it up quite nicely, really stretching her legs and reaching out. She is a filly or a mare who has her own mind about what she does in the morning, and Fausto Gutierrez, her trainer, has said that he kind of lets her tell him what she wants to do when she goes out there. He actually described her as a tiger who has this energy and this strong will and determination. You can see her. She does pick it up right away. The question, I think, is how long she can keep going at the clip that she has been, as far as these incredible performances. She puts so much into every race that she runs. She's fast. She has speed. She's been dominant in the division, race after race after race, and she really hasn't missed too many beats along the way. So can she keep going for the biggest one of them all? If she comes close to what she's been in any of those prior starts this season, then she is definitely the horse to beat. But you always wonder, at what point does she give in just a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, she's run at 6 different racetracks in the United States this year, 7 if you take it back to December of last year at Gulfstream Park. The one thing I think that will have helped her is she got a couple of months off from racing in the summer. She had a break from June to August. Third start off the layoff. Old school handicappers say that's pretty good in a form cycle. But you're right, she's a unique character. And that's part of a trainer's job, right? Is managing talent mentally. It's like a coach. Everyone's like, well, I manage a team, but the star player always gets handled a little differently. You make exceptions for somebody maybe that doesn't want to practice as hard, but you know they're going to perform in the afternoon. I think that's the case with Latrusa. She's a unique individual mentally. You make some exceptions. What you do, maybe you just gallop her without a rider, you jog her one day. You don't put her in that, one-size-fits-all category as far as training.
And Simon, I went back and looked at her record of workouts since she came to the United States. And there is no pattern as far as no relevance to how fast her workouts are or what the distance was in terms of how she performed. So I have absolutely no concern about the workout as to what's going to happen in the afternoon. To me, it's a non-factor.
If she gets beat on Saturday, that's no excuse, the workout. You can't point it at that.
And one of the most remarkable things we learned this week, there is no consistent exercise rider. Wherever she travels, Fausto Gutierrez hires an exercise rider locally. She's had about 20 different exercise riders through this amazing campaign that will lead her to be named the Eclipse Award winner for Outstanding Distaff Horse. But could it be something bigger if she wins the Longines Breeders' Cup Distaff? Scott?
Well, we always talk about this great industry as being one big family. And as Joe Sharp will attest to, with as big of a family as we have, occasionally we're going to encounter tragedy, and that's what we did this past week with the unfortunate and unexpected passing of jockey Miguel Mena at the young age of 34. And Joe, as this sport does, they rally, and they rally hard. How is this sport rallying around the Mena family?
Well, obviously, like you said, Scott, we are strong as a family unit. We spend 365 days a year together, and whether professionally, personally, relationships vary throughout the years and on the racetrack, but our core unit always stays strong, and kids attend each other's birthday parties, and we just try to always make it about our kids and our families. And I've spoke to a lot of other trainers, other riders, and it's coming to definitely making us proud as an industry how much support we're getting behind Miguel Mena's loss and for April and the girls. So we're grateful that Breeders' Cup is helping support us and making it easy for people to donate over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, there is the GoFundMe page that's been set up. We've seen that circulating on social media, so that's one way of doing it. But you just showed me the charity donation form where connections have the option to donate a percentage of their winnings straight to a fund which will benefit the Mena family. This is incredible stuff to happen as quickly as it has.
Yeah, it is. Dora with the Breeders' Cup was huge. Actually, Brad Grady, the owner of Fast Boat, was the one that kind of came up with the idea to me, and and offered to pledge 10% of his earnings from this weekend, and I'll do the same. Spoke to Brian Hernandez, talked to Brad Cox. A lot of people are just willing to get behind the cause, and I'm very, very grateful for Dora for getting the wheels turning quick, because obviously, we want to use the momentum of this weekend and being on the world's biggest stage is to try and help Miguel's family. And Miguel was a guy that everybody liked. Even you couldn't stay mad at Miguel, and just a great guy to have around, and obviously a talented rider.
Appreciate the time, Joe.
Thanks, Scott.
This is an experience that over the course of the pandemic, we've had a lot of loss, but you never, ever are in a position where you even imagine it could happen. I think about the last time I was in Lexington, Kentucky, I saw Miguel Mena, and I couldn't believe it would be the last time I'd see him, as this tragedy would happen about a week later. But for you, Caden, it's very personal because the rider that your husband represents, Florent Giroux, is very, very close to Miguel Mena.
Yeah, we spent some time with them, as Florent did as well, and I think he posted on social media that he had not just lost a friend, he had lost a brother. I believe that many people in the Docs room would have the same sentiments, but I think of the dedication that Miguel had to his two little girls, and I think that is kind of the driving force behind the racing community in terms of what they're trying to do. And the form that Joe Sharp spoke of is making it very easy for those who are involved in the Breeders' Cup to designate a portion of their earnings to the Miguel Mena Family Fund, along with the other charities that are already there. That has been a standard practice with the Breeders' Cup to make it very easy for connections to just designate that a portion goes to a charitable cause. In this case, they've added that to that slip. So I think that is a wonderful gesture on the part of the Breeders' Cup, and it just reinforces what we've always known about the racing industry, that in times like this, people come together. But Miguel will be greatly missed.
Yeah, when the news was breaking on Monday morning here at the Breakfast Marquee, it just shook a lot of people up, and the reverberations are being felt. But to have this opportunity to come together and help the Miguel Mena family has made us all feel a little bit better about a very, very sad and tragic situation. Credit to the Breeders' Cup and credit to this industry. We'll be back.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Download today and get a $300 risk-free bet on the Breeders' Cup. TVG. Onto the app, off to the races.
Upgrade your betting experience. The TVG app now includes more features. Track bets with live updates and view potential winnings. Got knocked out of your multi-race wager? Choose Create Bet to play the remaining selections. Alive in the last leg? View personalized wheel pace and see approximate payouts before results are posted. Plus, easily access TVG's improved handicapping tools, including TVG Insights, number fire picks, and odds trend. Bet with the latest features now.
What constitutes a great sire? Results.
It's Promise Keeper on the inside, and Promise Keeper has won the Peter Pan.
Versatility.
'Tis the law. He's left the others behind. 'Tis the law.
A foundation for the future.
Major General digs down deep. Here's the wire. It's going to be close. Major General got it.
Constitution has it all.
No, we're coming from the back of the pack, and we're a little late on our run at it.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, and this is the best breakfast you're going to find anywhere. I am joined by celebrity chef
Brian Malarkey of Urban Sea and Urban Wood here in Southern California around San Diego, and plenty more. Brian, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm so happy. This is amazing. Breeders' Cup's back here in the best city there is, San Diego, California. Brian Malarkey, I'm so excited to have you guys all here. People from around the world looking at our beautiful little city right here. So I made a little surf and turf. You know, in a perfect world, it's a frittata, but in a real world, it's a scrambled egg dish right here, all right? So what we've done here is a little bacon, some local crab from San Diego right here, and, you know, now it's just like, oh my gosh, come on, Malarkey, you're better than that. You could, you know, anybody can make scrambled eggs. But I was like, yeah, but can you put some creme fraiche on top of it? And can you take some caviar in the morning right here? All my good friends at TVG, we're kind of going a little bit over the top right there. Look at that. Drop in some herbs because we got the herb in the wood. We got some dill. We've got some parsley, some green onion. And I got to be honest right here. I am so excited. I love horse racing. You know, my fallback plan is to be a jockey one day. All right. I'm swear to God, I'm almost there. It's coming soon.
You're a little tall.
No.
I'm 6 foot. You got to be 6'1".
It's the Clydesdale races. You haven't been yet, but it's this really up and coming thing right there. Like down the stretch they come, and here they keep coming, and they're coming, and they're coming. Right.
So wait a minute. Hang on a second. You just laid this out here. I want to first of all take a sample of this. This is fantastic, and it's not just the presentation. I got to get a piece of flavor. And by the way, the plates here, you got to take note. These are Secretariat plates.
All right. Yo. We got anybody by 31 lengths today, tomorrow, the next day? Who's going to be the champion of all champions? All right, a little scramble for you. Talking about our new Chef's Life olive oils, cooking oil available across the country. Try a little bite here. I swear.
Okay, so I need to get a little.
Some of the eggs.
Got to get some egg. I got to get a little caviar there.
Get a little white. Oh, look at that.
You got to get all the colors of the rainbow here.
So when
that is phenomenal.
I mean, I don't do average. I don't do average.
That is phenomenal. So I've literally never had food like that in my life.
Real quick, Christina asked me to do this, and I love Christina, I love Dan, I love the whole family, and I said the only way I can kick off racing in San Diego and at Del Mar is if I saber some champagne. Well, my last name's Malarkey, so we know there's a lot of like BS in that. So I've never savored champagne before in my life. So last night, what I do, I got a bunch of champagne and I practiced. And I'm just going to let you know, I'm not the best at savoring, but there's something rewarding about this. So clear it, everyone clear.
Clear the decks, please. The man's got a knife.
So the idea is you're supposed to hit it right here. And you have to hit it nice and hard. You got to hold on good here. Good. This is champagne. You can call it champagne because it's from France. So all the horses from France, this is for you. But you know what? Let's get some Southern California horses here. This may not work. May not work. Oh, they're gathering a crowd here.
This is a live television show. Live television show. Oh.
Oh, God. See? The third time's a charm. No. I got to shake it up. Shake it up. See? Look at this live TV.
Once again, this is live TV.
He led last night.
Whoa! All right. Brian Malarkey, ladies and gentlemen, I will absolutely drink some of that broken glass.
No.
Cheers to you. Cheers to you. Thank you very much. Brian Malarkey, check out Urban Sea, Urban Wood. He's got a new line of products here called, what's it called?
Chef's Life.
Chef's Life. Check it out.
You got to say, Chef's Life for life.
Cheers. And, this is
Let's
fantastic.
have a safe, great, wonderful, competitive weekend here at the Breeders' Cup, my friends.
And
San Diego loves you.
Todd, you can see even his red solo cups have a little more class than average.
Brian Malarkey making cooking fun. Not only is he an amazing and fun personality to be around, he can flat out cook. I've been to many of his restaurants here in Southern California. He's also got a connection with me all the way back to Minnesota. Know him a while. Wish him the greatest success. If you have a chance to go experience one of his restaurants, you should. But there is a guy that every chef, when you talk about celebrity chefs, they can thank. Because the first kind of celebrity chef was Bobby Flay. And the greatest part about Bobby Flay is he loves horse racing. And there's something else coming up, Simon. Right?
Yeah, he's going to be joining us tomorrow. So a little tease of tomorrow's show. Join us tomorrow. He's going to be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour. He paved the way, as you mentioned, for TV celebrity chefs. Big horse racing fan. He's won a Breeders' Cup race. He's got 2 horses in the Breeders' Cup this year, and he'll be joining us live right on this very set tomorrow morning. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, living up to its name. Let's check in with Rishi Prasad.
It is a genuine pleasure to catch up with the man to my right, Dermot Weld, who brings the horse, Dermot, that we are talking about as the leader of the European pack in Tanawa, because she has been obviously a high-class superstar for the last couple of seasons. How is she? How has she travelled over? How has she been since the Arc?
She's been in great form. She did a tough race in the Arc, as we know. She performed brilliantly. She was tired for a week after the Arc. It was a tough assignment, but she's bounced back well. Training excellent, travelled well, and we're all set.
Obviously, one of the big challenges about the Breeders' Cup is that it moves around every year, and so you can never get used to one particular track. So, obviously, having done what she did in Keenan last year, people are talking about the different nature of the Del Mar track. What are your own thoughts on how she might be suited by it?
Look, she's very adaptable, and we're very hopeful. She comes into the race in great order. That's all I can do. Our draw is not good. Statistics here tell me you can't win from a 13 draw. It just doesn't happen. But once it is, unbelievably 40% of the winners come from 1 or 2 draw. So from 13 will be a huge ask. But that's where Colin will shine, and we just take it as it comes and see what happens. But she herself is in great order.
And obviously you're a man who's achieved so much internationally. What is it like, the buzz, when you come back with a filly like her to a situation like this? We're catching up you for the first time this week, and everyone wants to chat to you. They want to see her. I mean, do you still get the same buzz as you did when you first started campaigning horses internationally?
Oh, I do indeed. The challenge is always there. That's what you love, the challenge. We've been very fortunate around the world in Group 1 level, and it just gets tougher and harder every year. That's the only difference.
Well, it's great to have you here, and we look forward to seeing how she copes herself with that challenge from that stalled position. But we know she's classy, and we look forward to seeing her. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, Richie. Thank you.
Meanwhile, out on the track, Caravel preparing for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. Speaking of Bobby Flay, this is a horse that he owns in partnership with the breeder Elizabeth Merriman.
Yeah, it's a horse. She's pretty aggressive in a gallop. I think first morning we've seen her out here ourselves. You can see the riders having to just control her. She is a sprinter, so she's fairly aggressive, got the figure 8 noseband on there, and you've seen her in a last race. A little disappointing last time out, but I know they're expecting her to rebound in a big way here.
Well, in fairness to her, the course was less than ideal at Parks. I think most horsemen felt that a lot of horses were compromised by it the last time they ran, and I don't think she cared for it at all. She also did get very, very washed out prior to going into the starting gate. She can get pretty eager before her races and a little worked up. So I think at this point in watching her, you kind of want to see if she'll settle in just a little bit more, but she's carrying nice flesh for sure. She looks to me like she's picked up a little bit of weight since the last time I saw her. And I would say that she is a dynamo on the track when she's on her game.
Certainly feeling good this morning. That's no doubt about that. Watching that, just finished her exercise there.
Caravel, a live long shot for the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint for Bobby Flay. We'll be back with more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup in just a moment.
Introducing the Equibase app with all new features, including Smart Pick, smart handicapping made easy. Choose your track, choose your race, and then go to Smart Pick. Select your level of risk, the size of your wager, and which of these 3 strategies you want to emphasize. Smart Pick will then tailor your very own selection and bet amount. It couldn't be easier. Smart Pick, one of the exciting new features in the Equibase app. Download it free of charge today.
You know this type of place. You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big, get cool.
And here is Sharp Azteca now to take the lead. 3/4 up in 1:10.4. It's Sharp Azteca with the lead as they come down for the finish. It's Sharp Azteca, and he was sharp as can be today to win the Cigar Mile. 1:55.
At PNC Bank, we believe in the power of taking steps forward, moving ahead, whatever the pace and whatever the size. That's why we set out to help make it easier for everyone to move forward financially. With small business, personal banking, wealth, and corporate solutions that help you reach your goals and plan for the future.
It's a girl.
We're doing everything we can to help you get where you want to be. Because sometimes a little help is all you need. See how we can make a difference for you at PNC Bank.
Breeders' Cup apparel and products represent everything the Breeders' Cup stands for. Handcrafted, expertly designed. Own a piece of the event that defines an industry. Available at breederscupshop.com.
Another gray galloping ghost out on this foggy morning at Del Mar. Knicks go! Your favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic, drawing post position 5 at a field of 9. And the horse to catch.
No question about that. The one to catch, and this is a live look at him on the track right now. We're accustomed to seeing this very aggressive horse, up-tempo. He's got those draw reins on. Won't explain them again, kind of I've done it all week, but if you're just joining us, that equipment, the reins, they attach to the girth, the strap that attaches the saddle to the horse. They go through the ring and then up into the rider's hands. It gives the rider more leverage and the inability for the horse to pick his head up. If the horse puts their head up high and into the rider's face, it completely takes away the ability to control the horse. The reins become slack. You have no leverage. And it also helps develop the hind end of a horse. These horses that have draw reins on usually have a big muscular hind end because it makes them put their head down and use the back end more and push off and kind of build up that muscle mass back there in the hindquarters.
You can see how strong Knicks Go is, and little head cocked to the right. Again, you want to keep him away from the inside fence because horses are trained, the closer to the inside rail they go, the faster they go. His instinct and his desire is to go faster right now. So if he can't get there just by pulling straight forward, he's going to try to inch his way over to the rail. So in order for Edvin, the exercise rider, to keep that leverage and keep that advantage, he's kind of got his head cocked a little bit toward the outside. And he's just rocked back against the horse in a comfortable rhythm. Those first few strides are kind of where you establish the relationship and the dynamic. And then Knicks Go kind of settles in, although you can see the desire is always there to do just a little bit more if he was allowed to. But now that they've established that nice, comfortable rhythm, they kind of keep that steady way of going all the way around the racetrack. And you can see he's trying to get his head up there a little bit. And remember, Edvin is a little bit lighter than his regular exercise rider, Hugo, who rides him back in Kentucky. And I'm sure Knicks Go senses that as well.
Sure, exactly. And they're trying to get the lead changes around the turn. It could be a little more difficult with the draw reins because the horses don't have their headers matched to make that lead switch, but you're exactly right. The tempo of a gallop is really set right at the onset, the beginning of it. It's how it's going to play out, usually in the first several strides, whether a horse gets into a nice, relaxed rhythm. You don't want to start the gallop. You'll see horses stand out on the track, and they'll wait for a spot. I've always talked about it, how it's like coming onto a freeway from an on-ramp. You want to pick your spot, try and jump in when there's very little traffic. He goes later for that reason. There's the lead switch to the right lead there, and you can see he's just sitting on go. I mean, if Edwin was to give him a cue, whether verbal or smooch or with his hands, he'd just pick up the pace very quickly. But he's going to sit motionless, trying to be as quiet as possible up there, not to get him to do too much.
He is a very, very strong horse, and a little bit tricky from a rider's perspective. So I would say of all the horses that Brad's brought in here this weekend, this one is probably requires the most finesse to try to get him around there. Keep him controlled.
This is a horse that was purchased by the Korean Racing Authority before he went on this tremendous tear of winning Grade 1 races and Greater Stakes races. He was purchased by the Korean Racing Authority with the idea to take him back to Korea at the end of his racing career to stand at stud there and bring some American blood, some influence. We've seen it in Asian countries over the years. Look at, Sunday Silence in Japan has kind of been the foundation stallion. he's done so well here domestically that plan has been scrapped. He has now created such a resume for himself that he will be standing here in Central Kentucky at TaylorMade Farms at the end of his career.
Knicks go a son of Painter out of the outflanker mare Cosmos Buddy. Quite a remarkable story where he was bred for Angie Moore in Maryland. Knicks go. Now your favorite for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Joaquin?
Well, Todd, one of the stars in this year's Breeders' Cup is Latrusa, and she's going to be competing in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. She's right behind me over my left shoulder here on the wash track, getting a bath after a morning training session. Latrusa, she's had an outstanding year. She is a multiple Grade 1 winner, and she has racked up over $2.2 million. And what a season that she has had in 2021, going 6 for 7 this year. We know the story of Latrusa as a multiple Grade 1 winner this year, but what about the connections? Here's a story on the people behind Latrusa.
When Latrusa come here, I know that she's a very important horse. She come after win 2 parts of the Mexican Triple Crown for fillies.
Latrusa se lleva el Clásico Diamante.
After she run here, I know that I have a good horse. After the Clásicos del Caribe, St. George Stable tell me if I want to move to the United States. And I don't think a lot, because I think to in Mexico, after 10 years in a row, be leader trainer, I need to try here. She's a very special horse. She's not easy horse in the strong. She like to show to you that she's the one. Sometimes before important races, even I don't work her in 2, 3, 4 weeks. Some days she gallop very, very nice, and other ones she want to run. So when she want to gallop, okay, gallop, what else we can do? Just I need to change the day after.
And they're off. As expected, Latrusa right to the front of the opening strides.
I don't think does she have a problem if she goes second position. I don't think if she's not in the lead, she don't win.
Latrusa and Iran Ortiz Jr. to win the Juddmonte Spinster.
Latrusa right now, and maybe in the history for St. George Stable, be the most important horse. And the owner, Germán Larrea, he breed almost the half of the Mexican breds. He support all the Mexican industry for horses in the last 20 years. I think this is important for all the Mexican industry horses. We have a lot of passion for the sport. We have people for all our countries, from Puerto Rico, Panama, República Dominicana, Venezuela, in very important positions like riders, assistants for trainers, some trainers, grooms. So now when we have a horse for Mexican interest in Mexican people, it's a real dream.
Fausto Gutierrez was interviewed following the Rood and Riddle post-position draw just a couple of days ago about being at the Breeders' Cup, and he just simply said, I used to watch this on TV. I can't believe I'm sitting here now with one of the best horses. But he also had a situation when we first started these shows, Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, that could have derailed the whole thing. Look back at Latrusa. She had her final timed workout here, one of our first shows on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. It was going along great, and then all of a sudden it changed, Simon.
Yeah, she jumped in at the 5/8 pole, and the horse to the outside of her was ahead of her, working only a half a mile. Unfortunately, when those two worlds collide in close proximity, it ends up in this. Two horses working together when they were meant to be working solo and independently. Look, probably there's, I mean, the blame, do we want to start throwing blame around? No, it's just an unfortunate incident, but I think, you know, the right of way goes to the horse in front. When you're working in from behind, you have the ability to look in front of you and see who's breaking off. Maybe they could have slowed down a little bit and prevented this, but it happened. I don't think it's going to be any cause for concern on Saturday. It's not the reason that she's going to get beat, but, you know.
Is she going to get beat? I mean, the way you said that, that's not the reason. That's the reason. If she gets beat.
Did I say if she gets beat?
Well, you said, well, I guess. But,
yeah.
Caton, now that you've had some time to process this, was it anything? Was too much made of it?
Well, no one wants to see. We sometimes we place too much emphasis on workouts. Let me just say that right off the bat. But I think no one wants to see their horse not finishing well in their workouts. Trainers as well as handicappers. When you're watching, if you are a student of workouts, you want to see a horse finishing. And she did not finish in that work. But that said, I'm not going to use that as a reason to not play her. I'm kind of not considering that in terms of my handicapping. But if I pick against her, it's going to be because I think that maybe at the end of a long campaign, she's a little bit vulnerable.
Right, and to your point, maybe she didn't finish strong in that work, but it's not the reason because she worked in company. There's usually a reason why horses, whether it's she's a tired horse, end of a long campaign. I mean, I haven't seen her work. I don't have a baseline for it, but you're exactly right. So if she gets beat, it will be by Malafats. Yes.
Malafats had very good mornings here at Del Mar. Continuing on with our morning, we go to Christina Blacker.
I'm joined by trainer Danny Gargan. He has Dakota Gold in the juvenile turf. Danny, how long has the horse been here at Del Mar, and how has he settled in?
We shipped in on Sunday with the rest. Everybody from New York came on the same plane, and he shipped really well. I was a little nervous with that many horses getting on one plane at the same time, how they'd all act, but I was really pleased. Shipped in good. We've had no hiccups so far.
You did your last serious work in New York, so what has his training regime been like these last few days?
Just maintenance, just going out, stretching his legs. He jogged the first day we were here, and then we galloped him easy mile the last 2 days, and we'll just continue doing something like that until race day.
As far as the handicappers go, I'm a Thoroughgraph player. He has one of the best numbers in the field. Do you think he's underestimated a little bit coming into this race?
Yeah, his numbers are really good. I think he's a 13 minus on the rags, and I would say a 12 on the Thoroughgraphs or something. And, they changed his buyer from a 90 to an 85 last week, which is okay with me. But, the European horses dominate this race. It's just kind of fun to be in it and be a part of it.
What about here at Del Mar, tight turf course, short stretch? How do you think that will suit him?
Well, the turf course he won on last time, Monmouth, is almost identical. It's tight turns and a quick, fast to the wire after you come around the last turn. But he's not a big horse. He's more of a medium size, real athletic, light on his feet. So when he makes his move, I think it won't really matter. He doesn't need bank turns. He'll just kind of make his little move and go around him fine.
That's the type you need here. Good luck, Danny.
Thank you so much.
Dakota Gold for Reeves Thoroughbreds and Danny Gargan. He'll be a bit of a price, definitely live as far as the numbers go.
When you look at the 2 days, I know it's 5 championship races on Future Stars Friday and 9 of them on Saturday, but do you think we'll consistently see more prices on Friday or Saturday as far as upsets?
Oh, I think Friday for sure. Because what I've noticed this year, the dirt races, particularly the sprint, the Distaff, smaller fields, with the turf races, which is becoming more and more dominant in U.S. racing. We ran more turf races, I believe, at Del Mar this summer than ever before. They provide big fields, great betting opportunities. The prices will come on Friday, the big prices.
So much to look forward to over 2 championship days of racing, and many horse players refer to it as the best 2 days to play, and you could be playing through TVG.com and the TVG app. TVG, the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup returns after this.
With the TVG app, get expert analysis and free handicapping advice from here. Place a bet in just a few simple taps from here. And even stream races live from here. Access, analysis, and action from anywhere. Get cash back for finishing second or third on all Breeders' Cup races. TVG. Onto the app, off to the races.
Here in Pennsylvania, we're proud of our breeding program, the best in North America. But we're also proud to be leaders in this industry. The PA Horse Breeders Association is funding cutting-edge research at Penn Vet into equine health and safety. And we endorse the SAFE Act to help protect the most vulnerable horses. Plus, we're pleased to support the aftercare programs set up by our horsemen's groups. Just a few of the reasons why you should join us in Pennsylvania, the premier place to breed and race.
Maximum Security proves he's the real deal with a gate-to-wire win in the Florida Derby.
Champion 3-year-old.
Maximum Security has won the TVG.com Haskell Invitational. Maximum Security, he smoked them in the Cigar Mile.
Grade 1 winning 4-year-old.
Maximum Security takes them all the way in the TVG Pacific Classic.
Secure your mare's future. Maximum Security.
Longines.
Taking a look right now at the saddle towel for Classic Contender Express Train, and I am in the barn of John Sheriff's right now. Twitter, you talked. I'm going to answer. Right here, you guys want to see Express Train. Let's go visit him. Now, John did give me his favorite cookies. They're Mrs. Pasture cookies, and he told me, be ready when you call him over. So, Express Train, would you like a cookie? Really? This is what's going to happen now? They told me he runs for the cookies. Hold on. Express Train, want a cookie? Here he comes. Apparently, I did not call him properly. So here he comes for his cookies. These are very popular cookies. I should really try one. They're a little hard. Not a bad flavor, though, overall. All right, you want this? I think you like it more than me. There's a good look at Express Train, guys.
Kate, and there's been a lot of fun parts of the show, but that's been one of my favorites because a horse is not just a horse. They all have unique personalities.
They absolutely do. It's my favorite part as well. And being back at the barns, as Michelle has been, as many of us have been over the past few weeks, is really one of the great privileges of this job. But they do have unique personalities, and the jobs of the trainer, and that really is a big part of the job that sometimes goes overlooked, is figuring out those personalities and honing into them to get the best results on the racetrack. And that's a big part of what the crew does as well, in working with them on a day-to-day basis to make sure you get the maximum results out on the racetrack.
One of the first things we told you about that a trainer uses on a daily basis is the trainer's chart. Simon Bray has been assembling his own over the course of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Where are we now, Simon?
Oh, we're winding down. We're getting very close to the end of the week here. And just to recap, trainer's chart, basically a daily planner in which trainers input the exercise of what the horse does for that day, and maybe plots a target at the end of the month or middle of the month and works backwards from there to plan out a course of action as far as training goes. We've highlighted 6 top-class horses this week: Central Quality, Knicks Go, Hot Rod Charlie, Medina Spirit, Jockey's Warrior, Latruska. We started last Friday, remember, and we're working all the way up to Breeders' Cup weekend. This is what they've done. All the majority of the works are out of the way. Medina Spirit worked Friday. The Brad Cox pair worked Sunday, and they shipped. Jockey's Warrior worked just a sharp 3/8 and then walked the next day. And Latruska, that well-publicized work back here on Saturday, 30th of October. So we get through all that. All the work's done. Yesterday, some couple of horses jogging, Essential Quality and Jockey's Warrior. But today, as we head into Wednesday, we can just put G's right down the line. Everybody galloped here. So now you know the work is done. They've got that first easy day back on the track, and now everybody galloping. So it's, as I said yesterday, it's like painting by numbers. We're filling in the blocks here. Only one more day to go of our Breakfast at Breeders' Cup show. I would expect much the same here. Gallops all the way here. Maybe a paddock schooling or two walking through. Maybe a paddock school in the afternoon. Check of the shoes and make sure everything is fine there as we lead into the 38th running of the Breeders' Cup this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So our chart is almost complete, Todd.
And one of the horses on there, Knicks Go, we got to see out on the racetrack earlier today. I referenced breeder Angie Moore, and Angie Moore is a small breeder who has taken a lot of pride in the horse that she produced and where Knicks Go has gone since. Here's Angie's story.
So me and my mom bred Knicks Go in Maryland. We foaled him, sales prepped him, and sold him here at Keeneland. He was born a little bit early, and he was actually a little bit of a smaller foal, but everything was going as planned. The mare had him. We were sitting there waiting for him to stand up and get to nursing. And I got a phone call from my dad, and it turned out to be his girlfriend. This was like 11 o'clock at night, and she told me he had a brain aneurysm. I was in shock, in tears, and I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't go to the hospital. He was all the way in D.C. It was tough. It was a high and then a low, but, you know, everything turned out fine, and it was just a very tense moment, but definitely one I'll always remember. We sold Nick's Go as a weanling. I just felt like it was the right time, and being a smaller farm, I try to typically put everything through his weanlings to keep the cash flow going. He brought 40,000. Hunter Valley bought him. They turned him right back around and got 80 for him, and I felt like, that was appropriate. I try not to get too involved. I don't want to be too pesky. So it was really exciting to see him win his maiden special weight in that fashion. That's when I got a call about the mare. So I sold Cosmo's Buddy, which broke my heart. I absolutely loved her. I had the bill of sale, and I didn't sign it yet. And I was waiting. I was like, okay, well, we'll see how he runs in this grade 3. And then if he doesn't run well, I'll sell her. And he didn't. And then after I sold him, then they put him in that grade 1. And I was thinking, it's no big deal. And lo and behold, he did what he did.
And Nick's Go at 70-1. Tremendous upset in the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity.
I went from feeling okay about it, then completely sick about it, happy that he won a grade 1, but then just heartbroken that I sold the mare, and then just an even more kick in the gut that, it just happened the way it did, but that's okay.
Nick's Go is still well clear as they come down to the final yards, and Nick's Go goes all the way in the dirt mile.
It's just been a roller coaster, highs and lows, and just a snowball of emotions. Happy, sad, excited, disappointed, nervous, excited. I don't take it for granted. I know I'm extremely fortunate and lucky to have experienced this.
At the Thoroughbred Owners and Breeders Association Awards this year, Angie Moore was honored for what she has been able to accomplish with Nick's Go. I just like the fact that, we were talking about the story of George Leonard III coming here with California Angel, a trainer who never realized to be at the Breeders' Cup. Same with breeders. Just you hope that you can breed a winner, and then all of a sudden you not only breed a winner, but a horse who's at the Breeders' Cup.
And it is the Breeders' Cup. That is something that we often forget. But earlier when we heard about the Robinsons and Jackie's Warrior, the name coming from someone associated and related to the breeder, I think it is nice that every once in a while we have those things that tie back to the breeders to remember that they're the ones that got us these horses here in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. No breeders, no horse, right? I mean, without so the backbone of the sport, and then we, evolve into, of course, the trainers, the bettors, the owners. Everybody comes together and makes this sport what it is.
Nick's Go, one of the big stars over 2 championship days of racing this Friday and Saturday here at the Del Mar Thoroughbred Club. The sun is finally starting to come out, and so that marine layer is burning off. It's starting to warm up as well, but a majority of the activity has been done here on this day. Looking forward to our final show tomorrow, and we're going to go out with a huge guest who will be joining us on the set. Celebrity chef Bobby Flay will be here tomorrow. So many of you know him from the cooking world, but while he has a passion with cooking, his passion for horse racing is right up there with it.
Yeah, look, I think as much as, myself and my wife like to watch the Food Network at home, I think he likes to watch TVG and the coverage of the horse race. It's an outlet. It's a passion for him. It's been a breeder. It's had tremendous success with doesn't have a huge stable as far as numbers, of horses in training, but it's had tremendous success. Has won a Breeders' Cup race, represented by Pizza Bianchi and Caravella in the turf sprint this weekend. So we'll be chatting with him just after the 9 o'clock hour tomorrow.
One thing I want to ask him tomorrow, because the first time we ever interviewed him, he said his favorite part was planning the matings. He loved the breeding side and watching how that horse turns out. Now, a lot of those horses that he's planned the matings for have gone on to sales and sold for big numbers, and I just wonder, would he rather buy a horse for $1 million and win a Breeders' Cup race, or be the breeder of a horse that sold for $1 million and won a Breeders' Cup race? I mean, he's involved at every level, but the matings was something he always loved to put together.
Yeah, I think so, and people like to do that. It's like seeing one of your kids develop. If you breed a horse and they go on to do good things, it's like watching one of your children develop into something special. So yeah, we'll chat with him tomorrow. Looking forward to that.
If anyone in our audience wants to send in a question that they'd like to ask Bobby Flay, where should they send it?
Yeah, send it to me on Twitter @SimonTVG. @SimonTVG. If you send me the question there, I can pick it up and we'll fire away for some questions tomorrow.
Okay, that is tomorrow, but we still have some time left in this show, and when we return, we will have our roundabout with the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic report.
You know this type of place.
You might even work in one. Hot, sweaty, uncomfortable. But it doesn't have to be that way. Big-ass fans keep you cool, comfortable, and productive in any type of space. So no matter where you are, think big. Get cool.
Friday and Saturday, get cash back for finishing second or third on all Del Mar races. We'll refund your first win wager up to $10. Leaders Cup Friday and Saturday. Bet to win to get money back for finishing second or third. Opt in at tvg.com/promos. Tomorrow, live from Del Mar, TVG's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup continues. Expert analysis of top contenders prepare for the Breeders' Cup World Championships. TVG's daily live coverage continues tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific.
There's something about when you get up early, prep the plane, and you take off, and you get that first light of day. And the air is crystal smooth. You can see forever. You have to have the right aircraft for the right flight with the right crew up front. Only NetJets can do this. The flight dissolves into the background. It should just be the here and now.
Second, and then it's trusted, totalist, and auto code. American Pharoah comes into his final furlong, and he's got a 6-length lead as they come to the wire. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime.
The first time that the Breeders' Cup ever came to historic Keeneland Racecourse in Lexington, Kentucky, was the first time that we ever had a Grand Slam winner. A horse who swept the Triple Crown and then went on to win the Breeders' Cup Classic, the great American Pharoah. What about this year's Longines Breeders' Cup Classic? A field of 9 will test themselves at 1.25 miles on the main track here at Del Mar. As Simon was talking about earlier in the week, that starting gate goes all the way back to the top of the chute. So when they move into line, you've got the ocean just behind the horses as they break out of the gate. It is going to be a remarkable scene here on Saturday as Del Mar hosts the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic for the second time. Let's get a report on our field of 9, starting with Christina Blacker.
Todd, no news is good news with regard to the horses that I have been keeping my eye on for the Classic. Tripoli once again went very early this morning. Juan Leyva is the assistant to John Sadler. He also gets on a majority of the horses, and here all of the Breeders' Cup horses. So he went out for a gallop this morning, routine. Again, nothing really major to report there, and same to be said for Medina Spirit. Medina Spirit went out right at 7:45, right after the renovation break. A mile gallop, I should say, for him as well, and he looked great coming off the track. I did get a chance to see him when I was out there on the pony. Michelle, how about you with regard to the horses that you have been keeping tabs on?
Well, Christina, one of those horses was Express Train, so everyone that was watching just got an up-close and personal view at how good he's doing down here in his seaside home. But he did go out today. He backed up, and then he galloped, John said, between 1 mile and 1.5 miles, somewhere in that vicinity. Also, I went and checked on Stiletto Boy. You guys saw his work right here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup yesterday. He had that half-mile move in a little bit of a slower time, and he just walked the shed road today, as is expected, a day after a work. Scott, how about you?
Well, Michelle, we have been keeping track of the Brad Cox trainees, and obviously he's got a lot to juggle, but he's also got a very good juggling act when it comes to the Breeders' Cup Classic with two of the leading favorites with Essential Quality and Nix Go. And the same routine as yesterday. Essential Quality came out first, very calm, as he told us, much different sort of personality than that of Nix Go. They went once around, and then we just saw Nix Go not long ago taking his lap around of the track. But as Simon had pointed out, in watching him gallop, he's a horse that certainly, if you asked him to go and do more, he would do it because he's so full of energy. So we're at the point right now, Joaquin, where normal is good. Anything out of the normal, we don't want to be reporting when it comes to these classic runners, and that's the case with Brad Cox's Essential Quality and Nix Go.
And it's been a very normal scenario as well for one of the top 3-year-olds coming into the Breeders' Cup Classic this year for trainer Doug O'Neill, and that is Hot Rod Charlie. He had his main workout this past Saturday. He went 7 furlongs in 1:26.4. He walked the following day, and it's been a normal routine for Hot Rod Charlie, just galloping on the main track with Lava Man, and that's exactly what he did today as well. Art Collector for Bill Mott, he worked the other day as well. He was also on the main track. He went for a gallop earlier this morning. We saw him on the show as well. And then Max Player, he was one of the last horses to work on Monday for Steve Asmussen, just the typical Asmussen drill, 4 furlongs on 50. Max Player was out earlier this morning as well for a gallop. So all 3 horses, Todd, that I have been keeping tabs on, Hot Rod Charlie, Art Collector, and Max Player. As Christina mentioned a second ago, Todd, no news is good news at this point, and all 3 of those horses on the main track and gallop today as we're just a few days out from race day.
The latest on our Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Simon, I'm going to go back to something you were talking about earlier. You did a comparison of the workout last year to this year in preparation for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint with Gamine, but you also said you had that with Essential Quality.
Yeah, I like to take the opportunity to do this because you don't get it very often. It's very rare that, say, horses come back year after year in the Breeders' Cup at a high level like Essential Quality. So we have a baseline. We can take a work back from last year and compare it. Let's see, side by side this time, left-hand side of the screen is Essential Quality on the 30th of October last year. Look at this, 366 days, almost to the T here. And he's going to jump in with company. It's the same exercise rider.
Yeah, I think this is Florent in both instances.
Yeah, got the same jacket, same cap, I mean, in a year. So he's a little thrifty with his clothing choices there. But they're jumping in together on the left. The first difference, or the first thing to note here, is the difference in color. You know, you get some people lose hair like me as they get older. Some people get some gray like Todd down the air with his white walls. But look at Essential Quality. He's got that kind of roan color as a 2-year-old. As he's got older, Caden, you see he's got a little whiter, a little more gray there. That's the first thing that stands out to me. But what do you see here as far as works go?
He looks longer, doesn't he? He almost looks, not only is he bigger, but he almost looks longer bodied. He certainly looks as if he covers more ground with his stride. He's gotten on even terms with his workmate in similar fashion. Yep. And similar to last year, he kind of stays with his workmate through the stretch. But you'll see he starts to kind of ease past his workmate prior to the wire without much urging, which is, I think, a sign of maturity and much different from last year.
Do you see how he's filled out? He looks like 2 different animals in color.
And look at this, how he leaves the workmate. Now, he did have some horses that kind of attracted his interest in the gallop out here, but that is something that he rarely does, which is in the gallop out do any more than he needs to do to get past his workmate. Right. But that last work showed something more than we had seen previously.
Yeah, I mean, if you showed those videos to the untrained eye, you probably think they're 2 different horses, I think, with color and size. But yeah, he's had a stressful year. He's gone white almost, a bit like you.
I got the white walls. I'm trying to think who should be more offended, Florent Giroux and his clothing choices, or me and the white walls. But that is brilliant to be able to look back side by side. You saw it with Gamine, you saw it with Essential Quality, learning more and more here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Christina?
Todd, thanks. I'm standing outside the racing office. I just wanted to report what's going on over here as the team, David Jerkins and Tom Robbins, they're all very, very busy. Today, the first day of live racing here. So right about 10 o'clock is when you get scratch time for the Wednesday program. So they're in there working on that, having some other meetings. But to this point, as has just been keeping an eye on all of the Breeders' Cup horses, making sure that all of the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and so far, so good here. So we will get some information from the racing office as far as the Wednesday card goes, as far as all those schoolers that we can look forward to seeing a little bit later on today, and then, of course, any information with regard to the Breeders' Cup runners will be coming right here from the racing office as well.
And just to reemphasize, on the racing calendar here in Southern California, they officially start the Bing Crosby meet here at Del Mar. So there will be an 8-race card on the Wednesday program. We'll actually be able to see the track, as we haven't seen them racing on it since the summer meet.
I think it's significant to note if there are any trends, although it will be different caliber of competition on the Breeders' Cup days for sure.
Simon, you going to join me for racing later on?
Yeah, why not?
you looked a little bleary-eyed at the end there. Like, Simon, are you still with us?
Yeah. When's the Breeders' Cup?
We'll get there eventually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's this Friday and Saturday. We have one more Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup show left. That will be tomorrow. It'll be our 8th show, 7th show, something like that, 7th show. Been a lot of early mornings here, but it's going to pay off with 2 championship days of racing, and TVG is giving you a great incentive to become a TVG account holder. We're offering a risk-free, you're looking at this correctly, a risk-free first bet up to $300. Get all the details at tvg.com/best bet, or you can walk up to the screen right now and scan that QR code. TVG is the official wagering partner of the Breeders' Cup. So thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We hope you've gotten the insight that will help you enjoy 2 championship days of racing. We'll be back with more of it tomorrow. On behalf of Kate and Bradar and Simon Bray here on the desk just off the Jimmy Durante Turf Course, I'm Todd Schrupp. Until next time, may all your photo finishes be winning ones.